Chapter 29. It could be said that Xiao Chan had been forced into a desperate situation. At this moment, however, he calmed down instead. Surrounded by sword chi, Xiao Chan pointed the tip of his sword at the group of monkeys. He shouted in a low voice, "Let's fight." As if they had understood Xiao Chen's words, the group of monkeys suddenly burst out with an earth-shaking roar. Then, hundreds of blood-fire monkeys fiercely attacked Xiao Chan. One man against hundreds of monkeys. Moreover, Xiao Chen's cultivation was only at the profound yellow realm. One could imagine how great the pressure would be. Even so, Xiao Chen's eyes did not show the slightest trace of fear. On the contrary, the look in his eyes became incomparably firm at this moment. At the age of 15, Xiao Chan went out alone to experience the world. Then, he joined the East Sword Pavilion. He was not a person who had talent for nothing. He had always believed that if he wanted to become a strong person, he had to go through endless trials and tribulations to succeed. Who was born to be a strong person who stood proudly in the firmament? No, only by relying on oneself step by step could one stand at the top of the world. The long sword in his hand was constantly waving. Sword shadow kill, sword technique of 5 mountains, sword technique of breeze, sword technique of scorching fire. In the past 6 months, Xiao Chan had also practiced 4 upper-class martial arts techniques to the realm of completion. His combat power was far from what it was 6 months ago, and this was all thanks to Qi Yin. If Qi Yin had not sold Xiao Chan to the death fighting arena, Xiao Chan would not have made such great progress in 6 months. Only when one's life was hanging by a thread could one's true potential burst out. And Qi Yin's method of training for Xiao Chan was like this. She put Xiao Chan in a life and death crisis. If he wanted to survive, he had to break through his own limits. After a fierce battle, Xiao Chan was already covered with wounds. At the same time, the group of monkeys also retreated. A total of 18 bloodfire monkeys died under Xiao Chen's sword. After killing 18 bloodfire monkeys, Xiao Chen's body was dripping with blood. The sound of dripping blood was extremely ear-piercing. His eyes were calm and resolute as he looked at the slowly retreating monkeys. However, at this moment, a 2-meter-tall monkey walked out from the group of monkeys. Facing this monkey, the other monkeys all made way for it. Moreover, they were all extremely respectful. The monkeys that were already retreating stopped when they saw the bloodfire monkey. Noticing this, Xiao Chen frowned. At the same time, an indifferent voice sounded from a tree behind Xiao Chan. "It's the Monkey King, the king of the blood flame monkeys. If we want to beat them back, we have to kill it." There was a hint of playfulness in the voice. He didn't expect there to be someone here. Hearing this, Xiao Chun turned around and saw a young man in black sitting on a tree trunk with a playful face. He was looking at him with a smile. Xiao Chan didn't even notice this person's existence. He looked young and should be about the same age as himself. Following Xiao Chen's gaze, the young man jumped and landed steadily beside Xiao Chan. He looked at Xiao Chan with a faint smile. "Not bad. You can hold on for so long after reaching the Yellow Realms level, but it's not enough to beat the monkeys back. How about this? I'll hold the monkeys back for you, and you can kill the Monkey King. Can you do it?" The young man took the initiative to help Xiao Chan. In fact, he had been standing aside since the beginning. He didn't want to help Xiao Chan, but after seeing Xiao Chan fight with the blood flame monkeys, the young man realized that Xiao Chan was not an ordinary person. His talent and fighting strength were top-notch. At least in the young man's eyes, no one could compare with Xiao Chen's talent and fighting strength. It could be said that heroes cherished each other. It wasn't easy to meet someone with talent and fighting strength who could compare with him. Naturally, the young man didn't want Xiao Chan to die in vain. Hearing this, Xiao Chan didn't answer immediately. They didn't know each other, and the young man helped him. Naturally, he couldn't fully trust him. Seeing through Xiao Chen's thoughts, the young man explained, "Don't think too much about it. I don't have any ulterior motives towards you. I just don't want to see you die here. Of course, as I said, I'm only responsible for blocking the monkeys for you for a maximum of 15 minutes. If you can't kill the Monkey King within 15 minutes, then I'll have to leave by myself." Hearing the young man's explanation, Xiao Chan took a deep look at the young man. To be honest, The young man's appearance was very ordinary. He belonged to the type that you wouldn't notice if he was in a crowd. However, it was this kind of face that gave people an indescribable feeling. And this indescribable feeling came from the young man's temperament. The young man's strong confidence made him seem more handsome. It was also this strong confidence that made the young man stand out from the crowd, no matter where he was, even if he wasn't very handsome. After staring at the young man for a while, Xiao Chan finally nodded and said, "Okay, I can't kill the Monkey King within 15 minutes. You can leave by yourself." Although Xiao Chan didn't know the young man, he didn't feel the slightest bit of hostility from him. Seeing Xiao Chan nod, the young man smiled slightly. Then, the storage ring in his hand flashed, and a long knife appeared in his hand. With the long knife in his hand, the young man's breath suddenly became fierce. His eyes also became very serious. "Remember, you only have 15 minutes. If you can't kill the Monkey King within 15 minutes, I will leave by myself," he said to Xiao Chen indifferently. After finishing his words, without waiting for Xiao Chen's reply, the young man directly rushed towards the group of monkeys and immediately engaged in a fierce battle with them. The young man didn't lie to Xiao Chen. He did block the group of monkeys with his own strength. Only the Monkey King was left for Xiao Chen. Looking at the Monkey King in front of him, Xiao Chen felt that its breath was much stronger than the ordinary bloodfire monkeys. However, it still didn't exceed the level of a level 1 monster. Because of this, Xiao Chen dared to fight with it. Otherwise, with his current cultivation at the profound yellow realm, it was absolutely impossible for him to fight with a level 2 monster. Scorching sword technique, scorching kill. As soon as he attacked, he directly used a killing move. The Qingyun sword was surrounded by streaks of fiery red spiritual power and fiercely stabbed towards the Monkey King. Xiao Chen had already mastered 4 upper-class martial arts techniques, all of which had reached the perfection of martial arts. Among them, the scorching sword technique had the strongest attack power. Therefore, Xiao Chen directly used the scorching sword technique. He only had 15 minutes, and this was the young man's limit. Seeing this, Xiao Chen naturally didn't want to be entangled with the Monkey King. He tried his best to kill the Monkey King in the shortest time possible. One person restrained the group of monkeys, and the other killed the Monkey King. The two divided the work, and the battle immediately broke out. Although he only needed to face the Monkey King, Xiao Chen was definitely under a lot of pressure. This was because the young man's task was to restrain the group of monkeys, and Xiao Chen's task was to kill the Monkey King. The Monkey King had already reached the peak of a level 1 monster, and was only one step away from becoming a level 2 monster. It wasn't that easy to kill the Monkey King. With a stab, the scorching sword technique chopped towards the Monkey King with incomparable power. Seeing this, the Monkey King roared angrily and fiercely punched out, fiercely colliding with the Qingyun sword. Please add, recommend, reward. Chapter 30. Xiao Chen's attack had infuriated the Monkey King. He had to admit that he had underestimated the Monkey King. The Monkey King's strength was comparable to a mysterious Aeon Realm warrior. Although it was only a Class 1 demonic beast, it already possessed the strength of a mysterious Origin Realm cultivator. His body could not help but retreat a dozen steps back. The arm that was holding the Qingyun sword was also slightly trembling because of the huge force from before. After gaining the upper hand with one strike, the Monkey King didn't give Xiao Chen any chance to take a breather. With a roar, it took the initiative to attack Xiao Chen. Facing the Monkey King's attack, Xiao Chen didn't show any signs of fear. Although the Monkey King's strength had exceeded his expectations, it wasn't to the point where he couldn't defeat it. Moreover, there was no other way out. The only way to escape was to kill the Monkey King. Xiao Chen still used the Scorching Flame sword technique. The true meaning of Scorching Flame wrapped around his sword as he engaged in a fierce battle with the Monkey King. After a few hundred moves, the injuries on Xiao Chen's body became more and more serious. At the same time, the Monkey King also had many sword wounds on its body. Xiao Chen didn't care about his life at all. Time was running out, and Xiao Chen didn't have much time to waste. Taking the Monkey King's punch head-on, Shao Chun fiercely stabbed out with his sword. The Qingyun's sword directly penetrated the Monkey King's head. Before it died, the Monkey King let out a blood-curdling scream as its sturdy body fell backward. Finally, he succeeded in killing the Monkey King. Seeing the Monkey King fall, Shao Chen's body couldn't stand still. He could only rely on the Qingyun's sword to stand still. His mission was completed. At the same time, following the death of the Monkey King, the monkeys also let out a series of chaotic roars. Then, they scattered and escaped into the forest. He didn't pursue them. Killing the Monkey King was his limit. Just as the monkeys retreated, the young man came to Shao Chen's side. He looked at Shao Chun with a smile that didn't look like a smile. "How is it? Can you still walk?" "Yes." Hearing the young man's words, Shao Chun nodded. "Then let's go quickly. The smell of blood will soon attract other demonic beasts." Under the guidance of the young man, the two of them quickly left the place. The young man seemed to be very familiar with the Demon Mountain range. First, he led Shao Chun to a lake and cleaned their wounds. Then, he brought Shao Chun to a cave. At first glance, it was obvious that this cave was man-made. There was nothing inside except for a futon. However, the location of the futon was very hidden. If it weren't for the young man leading the way, Shao Chun wouldn't have been able to find it. "It's very safe here. You can rest assured and recuperate." After bringing Shao Chun to the cave, the young man said with a smile. Without any hesitation, Shao Chun settled down in the cave. Now that he was seriously injured, it would be dangerous for him to continue on his journey. It would be better for him to recuperate here. They met this young man inexplicably. They didn't even know each other's names. Even so, they were now living under the same roof. It only took 3 days. With the help of the healing elixirs given by Song Xian, Shao Chen's injuries were no longer serious. After 3 days of getting along, Shao Chun also learned that the young man's name was Chunling. He was 19 years old, and his cultivation was at the completion of the Yellow Realm. He only knew Chunling's name, age, and cultivation. Shao Chun didn't know anything else. As for the fact that Chunling was able to break through to the completion of the Yellow Realm at the age of 19, Shao Chun was quite surprised. This kind of talent was not inferior to his own. After his injuries were healed, Shao Chun originally planned to leave directly. However, Chunling suggested that they should practice together in the Demon Mountain range. In the face of Chunling's invitation, Shao Chun thought about it and agreed. After all, there was still half a year left before the 1-year agreement. There was no point in returning to the East Sword Pavilion now. On the contrary, although it was dangerous in the Demon Mountain range, he could also improve himself quickly. It should be known that in the Demon Mountain range, there were not only monsters, but also many precious spiritual fruits and herbs. They decided to practice together. In the next few months, 2 young men of 18 or 19 years old appeared in the Demon Mountain range. They searched for spiritual fruits and herbs in the Demon Mountain range and fought with monsters to train themselves. "Shao Chun, damn it, I found 100 spirits fruit," Chunling said with a smile as he jumped down from a big tree. "Chunling, quick, there's a level 2 monster here. Let's kill it together." After finding a level 2 monster, Shao Chun said excitedly, "Damn, this is a level 3 herb, Sundragonwood, but there is a level 3 monster protecting it. Shao Chun, what do you say? Should we do it?" Chunling looked at Shao Chun and asked after discovering a level 3 herb, Sundragonwood, but there was a level 3 monster protecting it. "Nonsense, of course we should do it. Let's attack together and kill this beast first." Shao Chun replied. There was no time in the mountains. A few months passed in the blink of an eye. It was also in these few months that Shao Chun and Chunling became the best of friends and also the people who trusted each other the most. The two of them ate and lived together, searched for spiritual fruits and herbs together, and fought against monsters together. In countless thrilling and exciting situations, the relationship between the two of them became closer and closer. At the same time, the strength of the two of them was also rapidly improving. From the beginning, the two of them could only kill a level 2 monster together. Later on, the two of them could already fight a level 2 monster alone. When they joined forces, they could even fight a level 3 monster. Just like this, unknowingly, 5 months had passed. There was only 1 month left before the 1-year agreement. On this day, Xiao Chan finally said that he wanted to leave. If he did not leave now, he was afraid that he would not be able to make it back to the East Sword Pavilion in time. Since young, no matter if it was Xiao Chun or Chun Ling, they had never met someone of the same age who could keep up with their footsteps. Today, they finally met. No matter if it was talent or combat strength, the other party was the most outstanding person he had ever met. At the same time, he was also the only person who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him. It was precisely because they had the same talent that the two of them hit it off so well. At this moment, when he heard that Xiao Chan was leaving, Chun Ling did not say much. He smiled and said, "Just as well, I'm also preparing to leave." "Okay." Hearing Chun Ling's words, Xiao Chen nodded. Then, the two of them walked in opposite directions. After taking a few steps, almost at the same time, the two of them turned around and spoke at the same time. "Hey!" Seeing that they stopped each other in unison, the two of them laughed at the same time. In the end, it was Chun Ling who spoke first. "You go first, I am at the East Sword Pavilion. If you have time, come and find me." Hearing Chun Ling's words, Xiao Chun said with a smile, "East Sword Pavilion?" Hearing that Xiao Chun was actually a disciple of the East Sword Pavilion, a strange look flashed in Chun Ling's eyes. However, he quickly recovered and replied to Xiao Chun with a smile. "Okay, if I have time, I will definitely go. Yes, you have to work hard in your cultivation. Don't be left behind by me. You should think more about yourself. Catch up with me first. Please collect, recommend, reward." Chapter 31. They smiled at each other and left in a carefree manner. There were no sentimental words or any reluctant parting. Both Xiao Chun and Chun Ling were determined to pursue the martial path. At the same time, they were not hesitant people. Therefore, there was nothing to be reluctant about parting with, because they both believed that there would be a day when they would meet again. After parting with Chun Ling, Xiao Chun rushed back to the East Sword Pavilion. Xiao Chun had been training in the Thousand Demon Mountain Range for 5 months and was extremely familiar with this area. Xiao Chun knew where the powerful monsters were and where the safest places were. Therefore, crossing the Thousand Demon Mountain Range was not a difficult task for the current Xiao Chun. While Xiao Chun was on his way back to the East Sword Pavilion, the female Yiksha, Qian, was also returning to the East Sword Pavilion on the back of a green-feathered eagle. Since Qi Yin was the only one who had returned, Song Xian naturally asked her about it. However, if Xiao Chun was present, he would definitely be unable to restrain himself from cursing at Qi Yin. Junior brother said that he wants to train in the Thousand Demon Mountain Range and then come back by himself. Experience my A*S. You're the one who forced me into it, but now you're the one who said that I wanted to experience it. In Xiao Chen's view, Qi Yin could be said to be extremely carefree during this year of training. In the first half of the year, she sold him to the death arena and threw him into the Thousand Demon Mountain Range for the second half of the year. It could be said that Qi Yin did not spend any effort at all. On the other hand, Xiao Chun had brushed shoulders with the Grim Reaper countless times and experienced countless life and death crises. Song Xian naturally did not fully believe Qi Yin's answer, but since he had decided to hand Xiao Chun over to Qi Yin, he was already prepared. Moreover, Qi Yin only returned now because she had been secretly protecting Xiao Chun in the Thousand Demon Mountain Range. Only when Xiao Chun was ready to return did Qi Yin return to the East Sword Pavilion first. Although she seemed to be indifferent to Xiao Chun, Qi Yin still loved Xiao Chun very much. This could be seen from the fact that Qi Yin could secretly protect Xiao Chun. Moreover, whether it was selling Xiao Chun to the deathmatch arena or forcing him into the Demon Mountain Range, it seemed dangerous and ruthless, but Qi Yin had secretly guaranteed Xiao Chun's safety. She just didn't tell Xiao Chun. On the surface, Qi Yin appeared to be carefree and unrestrained, seemingly indifferent to Xiao Chun. However, in secret, for the sake of Xiao Chun's training this time, it could be said that she had put in a lot of effort and even did not hesitate to owe Lin Wan-era favor. There were only 3 days left until the year-end assessment. This year-end assessment was not only for the outer and inner disciples, but also for the core disciples. The purpose of a year-end assessment was to test the results of everyone's training over the past year. At the same time, it also urged the disciples not to slack off. The arrival of the year-end assessment made the atmosphere of the entire East Sword Pavilion tense. Many disciples usually did not show off, but during the year-end assessment, they could shine brightly and catch the attention of the higher-ups of the East Sword Pavilion. Just like Xiao Chun, all the disciples of the East Sword Pavilion attached great importance to the year-end assessment. Damn it, that brat Xiao Chun went out to train. Why hasn't he returned yet? In Wang Hu's residence in the first outer courtyard. Ever since he was defeated by Xiao Chun in public, Wang Hu bore a grudge against Xiao Chun in his heart. He had always wanted to ruthlessly humiliate Xiao Chun during the year-end assessment, but there were only 3 days left until the day of the assessment, and Xiao Chun had not returned yet. This made Wang Hu extremely depressed. Although he had been defeated by Xiao Chun once, Wang Hu did not think that he would lose to Xiao Chun. After all, he had suppressed his cultivation to fight with Xiao Chun last time, and the year-end assessment did not say anything about suppressing one's cultivation. As long as he did not suppress his cultivation, Wang Hu was confident that he could ruthlessly beat Xiao Chun. No matter how strong one's talent was, it was still talent before it could be turned into strength. He had already regarded Xiao Chun as an enemy. Because of Xiao Chun's appearance, Wang Hu felt that his position was being threatened. Wang Hu had always been recognized as the #1 disciple in the outer sect, but now, because of Xiao Chun, many people felt that the #1 disciple in the outer sect should change hands. Even if it was not now, it would definitely change hands within 3 years. Either Wang Hu would break through to the mystic Ian realm and enter the inner sect, or Xiao Chun would catch up and forcefully push him down. It was precisely because his position as the #1 disciple in the outer sect was threatened by Xiao Chun that Wang Hu had always wanted to defeat Xiao Chun in public. For this reason, Wang Hu, who could have broken through to the mystic Ian realm, had always suppressed his cultivation in order to wait for the year-end assessment. This was because the year-end assessment was the best opportunity to defeat Xiao Chun. He wanted revenge. And just as Wang Hu was waiting with a stern hatred, 3 days passed in a flash, and the year-end assessment finally began. According to the order of the previous years, the core disciples' year-end assessment will be held first, then the inner sect, and finally the outer sect. It took 2 days for the core and inner sect disciples' year-end assessment to end. On the 3rd day, it was finally the outer sect disciples' turn. On this day, at the foot of a mountain in the East Sword Pavilion, this mountain was called Wanjian Peak, and it was specially used for the year-end assessment. Starting from the foot of the mountain to the peak, the entire Wanjian Peak was covered with restrictions. Those who entered had to constantly resist the pressure from the restrictions. At the same time, when they reached the mountainside, there would be an explosion of sword intent and sword chi. Only those who could resist these and finally reach the mountainside would be considered qualified. Of course, the higher you climbed, the better your results would be. However, no one had been able to reach the peak for hundreds of years, whether it was a core disciple, an inner sect disciple, or an outer sect disciple. No one had been able to do it. Of course, there was one thing that needed to be mentioned. The pressure and sword intent that the disciples of the 3 levels faced during the assessment were different. For example, the pressure that the outer court disciples faced during the assessment was at least twice as much as the inner court disciples. At the same time, there would be no sword intent, only sword chi. Because it was the outer sect assessment, Song Xian personally presided over it. Following his command, many outer sect disciples began to climb the Wanjian Peak. Damn it, that guy actually didn't come back. Before climbing, Wang Hu looked around, but still couldn't find Xiao Chen's figure. He cursed under his breath and immediately began to climb. They thought that Xiao Chen would not be able to make it back in time. However, just as the outer sect examination was about to begin, a handsome young man dressed in white slowly walked over to the East Sword Pavilion. He had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. This young man was Xiao Chun. Finally, he returned to the East Sword Pavilion. Standing at the East Sword Pavilion's mountain gate, Xiao Chun smiled and said, "I finally made it." After traveling all the way from the Thousand Demon Mountain Range, he finally made it in time for the Sword Pavilion's year-end assessment. Please add, recommend, reward. Chapter 32. After returning to the East Sword Pavilion, Xiao Chun could finally relax. To Xiao Chun, the East Sword Pavilion was his second home. Just as Xiao Chun couldn't help but smile and mutter to himself, a pleasant female voice sounded. "Little junior brother, you're really slow. The year-end assessment has already begun and you're only back now." Upon hearing this voice, the smile on Xiao Chun's face immediately disappeared. He turned around and saw that Qi Yin had unknowingly appeared here. Facing Qi Yin, the anger in Xiao Chen's heart unconsciously rose. For the past year, he had been tormented by Qi Yin enough. He also blamed himself for not being strong enough. Otherwise, Xiao Chun would definitely not hesitate to teach Qi Yin a lesson. "What's wrong? You seem to have a stomach full of anger and want to exchange a few blows with senior sister?" Seeing the change in Xiao Chen's expression, Qi Yin said with a smile, "Exchange a few blows? Stinky woman, you only know how to bully the weak." Xiao Chun cursed inwardly. However, on the surface, he naturally didn't dare to provoke Qi Yin. Otherwise, he would be beaten up again. With a smile, Xiao Chun came to Qi Yin's side and said, "Senior sister, what are you saying? I haven't seen senior sister for a long time, and I miss you. Endure, I'll endure you first. As the saying goes, it's never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. Wait until my strength catches up, then I'll slowly deal with you, stinky woman." While smiling, Xiao Chun thought inwardly. Glancing indifferently at Xiao Chen's smile, Qi Yin said with a disdainful smile, "Don't give me that. Disgusting. Come with me. If you're late, you won't be able to make it in time for the year-end assessment." Naturally, she knew that Xiao Chun didn't mean what he said. Qi Yin was too lazy to talk nonsense. After all, time was tight. Xiao Chun still had to participate in the year-end assessment. The reason why she appeared here was to wait for Xiao Chun. Previously, when Xiao Chun didn't appear, Qi Yin was secretly anxious in her heart. Following behind Qi Yin, the two quickly arrived at the foot of the Myriad Swords Peak. Upon seeing Xiao Chun, the group of outer court elders present was slightly stunned. Song Xian nodded slightly. "You're back. Go on, there should still be enough time." It had only been an hour since the year-end assessment began. With Xiao Chen's strength, he should be able to catch up with the others. Upon hearing Song Xian's words, Xiao Chun nodded slightly and immediately stepped onto the Thousand Swords Peak. Xiao Chen's appearance naturally attracted the attention of the other outer sect disciples on the Thousand Swords Peak. Among them, the one with the biggest reaction was definitely Wang Hu. The moment he saw Xiao Chun, Wang Hu was extremely excited. He did not hesitate to suppress his cultivation in order to humiliate Xiao Chun. He thought that he would not have the chance, but who would have thought that Xiao Chun would catch up at the last moment? Ah, the heavens really have eyes. Xiao Chun, even the heavens are helping me. This time, I'll see what tricks you can play. I'll make the year-end assessment your nightmare. Wang was ecstatic in his heart. At the same time, he also signaled to the people around him with his eyes. These people were his followers. At this time, when they received Wang Hu's signal, they nodded one after another and then deliberately slowed down, as if they were deliberately waiting for Xiao Chun. He was an hour later than the others. However, in the face of the oppression of the Thousand Swords Peak, Xiao Chun appeared to be extremely relaxed. He was no longer the same person he was a year ago. In this year, under the inhumane torture of Qi Yin, Xiao Chun had undergone a complete transformation. Xiao Chun strolled towards the peak of the mountain. Just when he was not far from the mountainside, he saw the people around Wang Hu blocking his way. There were a total of 18 people. Xiao Chun glanced at them and said indifferently, "Why? Are you guys welcoming me?" Xiao Chun already knew that these people were Wang Hu's subordinates, so he did not have a good expression. When they heard this, the more than 10 people's faces darkened, and they said in an unfriendly tone, "Xiao Chun, if I were you, I wouldn't come to participate in the year-end assessment today. That's right, because today will be your doomsday. Senior brother Wang, who will personally knock you down the mountain, so that you won't even be able to reach the mountainside. Haha. There was no prohibition against fighting on the Thousand Swords Peak. During the climbing process, disciples could attack each other and also obstruct others from climbing. This was all in accordance with the rules. Therefore, Wang Hu dared to openly attack Xiao Chun in the year-end assessment. Listening to the mockery of these more than 10 people, Xiao Chun's expression was calm. Did these guys still think that he was the same as he was a year ago? That he needed Wang Hu to suppress his cultivation to win? They were simply thinking too much. Without any superfluous nonsense, Xiao Chun walked forward slowly. As he walked, he said, "I'll give you guys one last chance. If you don't want to roll down from here, get out of my way." He did not care about these more than 10 people blocking his way. When they heard Xiao Chen's words, the more than 10 people's eyes narrowed slightly. The leader even shouted angrily, "Xiao Chun, do you think that this is still your apprenticeship ceremony? Do you think that we still need to suppress our cultivation to have a fair fight with you? Let me tell you, this is the year-end assessment. We don't need to suppress our cultivation. If you know what's good for you, kneel down." There was no need to suppress their cultivation. Xiao Chun was just a disciple who had just entered the outer sect for a year. How could he be a match for these senior disciples? However, in the face of this person's reprimand, before he could finish speaking, Xiao Chun directly attacked. He punched this person's face fiercely. Instantly, this person's nose collapsed and blood splattered everywhere. "Forget it, I've changed my mind. You guys should just roll down," Xiao Chun said indifferently after punching out without any warning. After being hit by an unexpected punch, Xiao Chen's strength had completely exceeded this disciple's expectations. What happened next was simple. Although the other party had a large number of people, in Xiao Chen's eyes, they were just a bunch of chickens and pottery dogs. Under Xiao Chen's violent attacks, Wang Hu's 18 lackeys were soon beaten to the brink of death. They lay on the ground, unable to stand up. One kick at a time, Xiao Chun kicked them down Wanjian Peak one by one. They rolled from halfway up the mountain all the way to the foot of the mountain. They no longer had the strength to climb Wanjian Peak. This also meant that these 18 people's year-end assessment had ended in failure. At the same time, their cultivation resources in the coming year would also be greatly reduced. Xiao Chun paid them no mind. After dealing with them, he continued to climb up the mountain. Wherever he went, the outer yard disciples would look over at him in shock. What's going on? It's only been a year, and Xiao Chen's strength has already reached such a level? In the face of 18 senior outer sect disciples, none of them suppressed their cultivation, but they were still crushed by Xiao Chun. At this moment, no one dared to treat Xiao Chun as a new disciple. The fact that 18 senior outer sect disciples were crushed by him was enough to prove Xiao Chen's strength. Please collect, recommend, reward. Chapter 33. No one dared to belittle Xiao Chun anymore. At the same time, under everyone's gaze, Xiao Chun strolled to the mountainside. Wang had already stopped him there. Many outer disciples gathered around. They all wanted to see how Xiao Chun would deal with Wang Hu, the number one outer disciple. "Xiao Chun, be careful. I think Wang Hu must have suppressed his cultivation. Otherwise, with his strength, he would have broken through the mysterious Ian realm and entered the inner gate." Seeing Xiao Chun coming, Mo Jie and the others took the initiative to greet him and reminded him worriedly. Although Xiao Chun had defeated Wang Hu once, Wang Hu had suppressed his cultivation at that time. However, Wang Hu did not need to suppress his cultivation at the moment, and it was impossible for him to do so. As such, the battle was extremely disadvantageous for Xiao Chun. Facing Mo Jie and the others' kind reminders, Xiao Chun smiled and said, "Don't worry." He signaled everyone not to worry and strode to Wang Hu. Xiao Chun had known since a year ago that Wang Hu would hold a grudge against him. Therefore, he was not surprised by Wang Hu's actions today and spoke to Wang Hu with an indifferent expression. "You want to fight with me? Cut the crap, Xiao Chun. Either you apologize to me and I will let you go, or you get out of here today." Hearing Xiao Chun's words, Wang Hu shouted coldly, "Sai, if that's the case, then let's fight." Wang Hu obviously did not want to give up. It was impossible for him to apologize, so he could only fight. As soon as he finished speaking, the Qingyun sword appeared in Xiao Chen's hand. Sword Qi emerged. Seeing this, Wang Hu also took out his own sword. He naturally did not have a mysterious weapon like Xiao Chun. His sword was just an ordinary weapon. His momentum was constantly rising. At this moment, Wang Hu did not hold back at all. His vigorous cultivation of the completion of the Yellow Realm soared to the sky. Feeling the breath of Wang Hu's cultivation, Xiao Chun was keenly aware that this guy had indeed suppressed his cultivation. In order to humiliate him, Wang Hu did not hesitate to suppress his cultivation. With a roar, Wang Hu took the initiative to attack. The long sword in his hand fiercely pierced out, and the sword shadow was instantly displayed. Wang Hu's sword shadow kill had also reached the transcendent level. A year ago, Xiao Chun had only been able to raise his sword shadow kill to the transcendent level with the help of Wang Hu. However, a year later, Xiao Chun felt that Wang Hu's sword shadow kill was still too weak. There were at least 3 loopholes, and any one of those loopholes was enough for him to easily break Wang Hu's sword shadow kill. Today was different from the past. In the first half of the year, Xiao Chun had practiced 4 upper-class martial techniques to the realm of perfection. In the second half of the year, Xiao Chun had practiced 6 upper-class martial techniques to the realm of perfection. Therefore, Xiao Chun now had 10 upper-class martial techniques to the realm of perfection. His understanding of the Tao of the sword had improved a lot. Therefore, in Xiao Chun's eyes, Wang Hu's swordsmanship was not full of loopholes, but it was absolutely not a threat. Xiao Chun casually flicked his sword and accurately hit one of the sword shadows, breaking the surface with a single point. Wang Hu's sword shadow kill was instantly broken by Xiao Chun's sword. Everything seemed so casual, and Xiao Chun did not even move his feet. Seeing his sword shadow being broken by Xiao Chun so easily, Wang Hu's face suddenly changed. He said with a look of disbelief, "How is this possible? How is this possible?" That was the sword shadow strike of the transcendent state, but it was broken by Xiao Chun with a simple strike. Not only Wang Hu, but the other outer disciples around him were also shocked. It was as if they had just met Xiao Chun for the first time. No one could understand how Xiao Chun could have grown so much in just 1 year. This speed of progress was simply unprecedented. Ignoring the shock of the surrounding disciples, Xiao Chun slowly walked towards Wang Hu with his sword in hand. As he walked, he said lightly, "Nothing is impossible. You're just too weak." As the recognized first disciple of the outer disciples, was Wang Hu weak? Obviously not. It could only be said that Xiao Chun was too abnormal. After finishing his words, without waiting for Wang Hu's reply, Xiao Chun's body gradually emitted a wave of spiritual power that had reached the completion of the Yellow Realm. Perceiving this wave of spiritual power, the surrounding disciples were stunned again. The completion of the Yellow Realm? How is this possible? One should know that when Xiao Chun left the school a year ago, his cultivation was only at the initial completion of the Yellow Realm. But now, in just 1 year, he had broken through to the completion of the Yellow Realm. This speed of practice, his combat power and cultivation were beyond everyone's expectations. They thought that they had overestimated Xiao Chun. But until they saw it with their own eyes, they realized that they had never really understood Xiao Chun's talent. He was not only a monster, he was simply defying nature. Under the shocked gaze of the crowd, Xiao Chun swung his sword, and the sword chi flashed. Facing Xiao Chun's attack, Wang Hu recovered from the shock, and a crazy look appeared on his face. "Xiao Chun, do you think that you're the only one who has been improving in this 1 year?" Scorching fire swordsmanship. In 1 year, Wang Hu had practiced another upper-class martial arts technique to the perfection of martial arts. It was the scorching fire swordsmanship. As the most powerful upper-class martial arts technique, the scorching fire swordsmanship was extremely popular among the outer disciples of the East Sword Pavilion. The scorching spiritual power of the scorching fire surged crazily. With the help of the sword chi, it directly shattered Xiao Chun's sword chi. 2 upper-class martial arts techniques at the perfection of martial arts. Wang Hu's move was indeed impressive. No wonder he was recognized as the first disciple of the outer disciples. But this feeling only lasted for a moment. After Wang Hu performed the scorching fire swordsmanship, Xiao Chun smiled indifferently. Let me show you the real scorching fire swordsmanship. Unfortunately, Xiao Chun also knew the scorching fire swordsmanship. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Chun slashed out with his sword again. The scorching fire swordsmanship was performed. The same spiritual power of the scorching fire swordsmanship, with the help of the sword Qi, quickly and violently slashed toward Wang Hu. When the same sword technique was performed by the two of them, it gave off a completely different feeling. Xiao Qin's scorching fire swordsmanship had obviously been practiced to the point of perfection. Its power was far beyond Wang Hu's. Looking at the scorching fire swordsmanship that was slashing towards him, Wang Hu's face turned pale. He never thought that it would turn out like this. He originally thought that he could ruthlessly humiliate Xiao Chun in front of everyone during the year-end examination. But reality mercilessly slapped him in the face. After a year, Wang Hu no longer had any power to fight back against Xiao Chun. In the face of Xiao Chen's slash, Wang Hu did not even have the slightest intention to resist. He could only watch as the sword Qi flashed past. Just when everyone thought that this slash would seriously injure Wang Hu, at the last moment, the sword Qi suddenly disappeared. This was obviously done by Xiao Chun. Originally, if Xiao Chun did not stop with this slash, it would definitely be enough to seriously injure Wang Hu. However, Xiao Chun did not do so and chose to let Wang Hu go. Please collect, recommend, reward. Chapter 34. Xiao Chun chose to stop at the last moment. Although he knew that Wang Hu still held a grudge against him, Wang Hu was no longer a threat to him. Moreover, there was no enmity between the two of them. Killing Wang Hu or not wouldn't make any difference to him. In fact, the enmity between the two of them was entirely caused by Wang Hu's narrow-mindedness. He wanted to prove himself through Xiao Chun. However, he didn't know that in Xiao Chen's eyes, Wang Hu was just a negligible existence. He didn't pose any threat to Xiao Chun at all. Without injuring Wang Hu, Xiao Chun sheathed his sword. Then, he turned to look at Mo Jia, Qin Shu, and the others and said with a smile, "I'll go up first. Come to the dustless residence tonight. I'll treat all of you to a drink." As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Chun directly walked past Wang Hu, who was in a daze, and continued towards the top of the Wanjian Peak. He directly ignored Wang Hu. After this battle, the #1 position in the outer sect had completely changed hands. Who would have thought that Wang Hu, who had been famous in the outer sect for many years, would be defeated by a new outer sect disciple who had only been in the outer sect for a year? Moreover, he was defeated without any ability to fight back. This kid is really... At the foot of the mountain, Song Xian smiled in a gratified manner as he watched Xiao Chen's back with eyes filled with deep meaning. He was naturally able to tell just how much Xiao Chun had improved over the past year. However, if that was all, it was still impossible for Xiao Chun to defeat Tian Dao from the Blood Devil Hall. Sigh, there was no other way. The outer sect disciples of the East Sword Pavilion were getting worse with each generation. In the competition with the other major forces in the Eastern Sun region, the East Sword Pavilion's core disciples and inner sect disciples were not afraid. Only the outer sect disciples were always at a disadvantage. The reason was that the East Sword Pavilion didn't have a capable outer sect disciple. Song Xian had great expectations for Xiao Chun, but Xiao Chun clearly did not know what Song Xian was thinking. Song Xian had already crossed the halfway point of the mountain, and sharp sword aura after sword aura frantically attacked Xiao Chun. Sword Qi that hadn't even reached the entry stage was naturally of no threat to Xiao Chun. However, he didn't act carelessly because he knew that the higher one climbed the myriad sword's peak, the stronger the sword Qi would become. It was said that during the outer court exam, the sword Qi at the peak had reached the initial stage. Sword Qi at the level of minor accomplishment was definitely not something that an outer court disciple could contend against. This was because the only way to resist the invasion of sword Qi was to use one's own sword Qi to resist it. In other words, if one wanted to reach the peak, then one must possess sword Qi at the level of minor accomplishment. However, in the outer court, who could possess sword chi at the level of minor accomplishment. One must know that even in the inner court, there weren't many people who possessed sword chi at the level of minor accomplishment, let alone the outer court. Every step he took was extremely firm. Looking at Xiao Qin's back, many outer court disciples at the halfway point of the mountain were stunned. They wanted to see how far Xiao Qin could go, and whether he could really reach the peak of the Myriad Swords Peak and become the first person to reach the peak in 100 years. Countless pairs of eyes were fixed on Xiao Qin, but he didn't seem to mind at all. Step by step, he walked toward the peak. As he climbed all the way up, the closer he got to the peak, the sharper the sword chi became. At this moment, he had already reached the limit of the entry stage and was only one step away from the initial stage. Sword chi gushed out from his body, firmly protecting him against the sword chi on the Myriad Swords Peak. 1,000 meters, the last 1,000 meters. Seeing that Xiao Qin was only 1,000 meters away from the peak, many outer court disciples tensed up. In this year's year-end assessment, the best result for the core and inner court disciples was 500 meters away from the peak. Of course, the pressure they endured was far from comparable to the outer court disciples. However, it was worth mentioning that the ones who set these two records were Xiao Qin's big senior brother and a second senior sister. Would Xiao Qin be able to break the record of the big brother and the second sister? Under everyone's gaze, Xiao Qin finally made it to the last 1,000 meters. As soon as he made it there, the pressure of the sword aura suddenly increased and reached the level of small accomplishment. Sword chi at the initial stage? So what? Feeling the increase in the sword chi, Xiao Qin's eyes glinted with determination. Then, the sword chi in his body also increased sharply and reached the initial stage. That's right. In this year, apart from his combat strength and cultivation, Xiao Qin's sword chi had also broken through from the initial stage to the initial stage. Xiao Qin took a step back at the beginning, but he quickly stabilized himself. Then, he continued to climb. Although his speed was slower, his footsteps weren't shaky at all. Every step he took was extremely firm. Seeing that Xiao Qin was getting closer and closer to the peak, and even surpassed the record set by Qi Yin and Song Xian, the outer court disciples couldn't remain calm anymore. This kid has actually broken through to the initial stage. Song Xian smiled as he looked at Xiao Qin, who was climbing to the peak. With his eyesight, he could naturally see that Xiao Qin's sword chi had reached the initial stage. An outer court disciple with initial stage sword chi got to say Xiao Qin had done something that no one had been able to do for 100 years. Even Qi Yin only broke through to the initial stage after entering the inner court. Hearing her master's praise, Qi Yin also revealed a faint smile. She was very satisfied with Xiao Qin's performance. In just a short 2 hours, Xiao Qin took the last step and successfully reached the peak of the Myriad Swords Peak. The sword aura around him disappeared in an instant, and everything on the peak returned to normal. Xiao Qin looked down at the dumbfounded outer sect disciples from above. At that moment, a sense of heroism welled up in his heart. Standing there meant that he was standing at the highest peak of the outer sect of the Esor Pavilion. From a new disciple to the top of the outer court, it only took Xiao Qin a year. No one knew who spoke first, but all the outer court disciples gathered on the mountainside shouted in unison. Greetings, senior brother Xiao Qin. The top of the outer court, climbing the Myriad Swords Peak, Xiao Qin deserved to be addressed as senior brother. This was also the heartfelt admiration of all the outer court disciples. Even Wang, who had to bow his head and greet him. Qin Shiru was mesmerized as he looked at the figure on the peak of the Myriad Swords Peak with infatuation. Xiao Qin's white clothes fluttered in the breeze. At this moment, in Qin Shiru's eyes, Xiao Qin was so perfect. Everyone was watching. Not only the outer court disciples, but many inner court disciples and core disciples also saw the scene of Xiao Qin reaching the peak. Some were envious, some were jealous. However, on a mountain peak not far away, two young men stood side by side. One of them laughed. Qin Heng, your junior brother is not bad. He has already broken your record. Please collect, recommend, reward. Chapter 35. The two youths were both in their 20s. Furthermore, there were 3 golden swords embroidered on their chests, which were arranged in a triangular formation. This proved that they were core disciples of the East Sword Pavilion. Hearing his companion's words, the youth called Qin Hung smiled indifferently and said, "What's wrong with that? He is my junior brother. Naturally, he will surpass me." Qin Hung was Xiao Qian's senior brother and also Tsang Xian's first disciple. He was now the #1 core disciple of the East Sword Pavilion and ranked 2nd on the Junwu Earth ranking in the Danyang region. His cultivation had reached the perfect Earth mirror. While the two were talking, Xiao Chun had already walked down the Wanjian Peak. Seeing Xiao Chun being taken away by Tsang Xian, Qin Hung said with a smile, "Let's go. I should also get to know my junior brother." The year-end assessment did not disappoint. Following Tsang Xian back to his residence, Tsang Xian said with satisfaction towards Xiao Chen's performance today, "Not bad. You have indeed not wasted this year. You have improved a lot." Those who were familiar with Tsang Xian knew that he would not easily praise someone. Even Qi Yin and Qin Hung were rarely praised by Tsang Xian. Facing Tsang Xian's praise, Xiao Chen replied with a smile, "I have to thank second senior sister. If it wasn't for her, how could I have such growth? Isn't that right, second senior sister?" On the surface, Xiao Chen's words seemed to be thanking Qi Yin. However, the resentment in his words was very strong. Hearing these words, Qi Yin smiled unnaturally. Then, she glared fiercely at Xiao Chen and said, "Junior brother, you don't have to be so polite. Don't worry, senior sister will still treat you well in the future." It was an undisguised threat. Seeing this, Tsang Xian waved his hand and said, "All right, the time for the battle for the spirit vein has been set. It will be in 3 days. Chen I'm not worried about your senior brother and second senior sister. Right now, the most important problem is still you. Moreover, I also believe that the Blood Demon Hall will definitely place the breakthrough on Tian Dao." Tsang Xian signaled the two to stop fooling around and said seriously, 3 against 3. Tsang Xian was not worried about Qin Hung and Qi Yin because the key to this battle was still Xiao Chun and Tian Dao. It was even exaggerated to say that the victory between Xiao Chun and Tian Dao would directly affect the ownership of the spirit vein. Therefore, the burden on Xiao Chen's shoulders was not light. After hearing Tsang Xian's words, Xiao Chen knew that the East Sword Pavilion attached great importance to this matter. After all, it was a spirit vein that had never been exploited before. There was no way they could not afford to not attach great importance to it. "Don't worry, master. I will do my best," Xiao Chen assured Tsang Xian. Tsang Xian nodded slightly and replied, "Yes, I believe in you. You have grown to this extent in just a year. This is enough to prove that you are not inferior to Tian Dao." Tsang Xian naturally had confidence in Xiao Chen. This was his disciple. Moreover, Xiao Chen had used practical actions to prove that his judgment was right. In just a year, the former #1 in the outer sect, Wang Hu, was like a clay chicken and pottery dog in Xiao Chen's hands. Therefore, regardless of the outcome, just based on the current situation, Xiao Chen was indeed the only person in the East Sword Pavilion who could compete with Tian Dao. It could be seen that the outer sect of the East Sword Pavilion was indeed a little weak. Compared to the other big shots, the outer sect of the East Sword Pavilion was an entire level weaker. In this regard, Xiao Chen was also curious and asked for the reason. In the face of Xiao Chen's inquiry, Tsang Xian did not hide anything and explained the overall situation of the East Sun region to Xiao Chen in detail. Perhaps because Tsang Xian wanted Xiao Chen to carry the banner of the outer sect of the East Sword Pavilion, he explained in great detail. According to Tsang Xian, there were 5 big shots in the entire East Sun region. They were the East Sword Pavilion, the Blood Demon Hall, the Myriad Immortal House, the Leshan Mansion, and the Fire Cloud Sect. These 5 big shots were like 5 mountains that occupied more than 90% of the cultivation resources in the entire East Sun region. There were countless dynasties and families under them. They were so powerful that no one in the entire East Sun region could compete with them. It could be said that the East Sun region was the world of these 5 big shots. However, since 3 years ago, peerless Heaven's Prides had emerged one after another from the other four big shots, except for the East Sword Pavilion. These Heaven's Prides were now in the outer sect. In the face of these four Heaven's Prides that had suddenly emerged from the four big shots, no one in the outer sect of the East Sword Pavilion could compare with them. In other words, it was not that the outer sect of the East Sword Pavilion had declined, but that the outer sect of the other four big shots had produced true Heaven's Prides. In contrast, the East Sword Pavilion did not have such a leading figure. In the past 3 years, the outer sect of the East Sword Pavilion had become weaker and weaker in front of the other four big shots. In addition, under normal circumstances, the competition between the 5 great leaders was between the outer court and the inner court. There were some unwritten rules. Therefore, when the outer court disciples of the East Sword Pavilion were at a disadvantage, the inner court disciples could not help them. Tian Dao of the Blood Demon Hall, Mu Qing of the Myriad Immortal House, Lin Xing of the Leshan Mansion, and Zhao Weiyun of the Fire Cloud sect were the leading figures of the outer sect of the four big shots. Their cultivation had reached the completion of the Yellow Realm, and they all had the record of killing warriors of the mysterious Yuan Realm. In the East Sun region, their fame had even surpassed the core disciples of the 5 big shots. They were called the 4 hidden dragons of the East Sun region, which meant that they were the 4 hidden dragons of the East Sun region. After explaining the situation of the East Sun region to Xiao Chun in detail, Xiao Chun also understood why the outer sect of the East Sword Pavilion was so miserable. Just as Cang Xian's voice fell, Qin Heng slowly walked over from the distance with a smile on his face. "Master, you're overestimating the morale of others and diminishing our own. They have their own hidden dragons, and now our East Sword Pavilion also has one. I believe that Junior Brother will definitely be able to contend against these 4 guys." Cang Xian unhappily retorted after hearing Qin Heng's words. "Go to the side. All you know is to play with words. You were born a few years earlier. If you were born at the same time as these 4 fellows, at the same age, would you be their match?" The 4 hidden dragons. Although they were only in the Yellow Realm, the top leaders of the 5 magnates admitted that the achievements of the 4 hidden dragons at the same age were unmatched. Even Qin Heng's achievements at the same age as the 4 hidden dragons were far inferior to theirs. Therefore, the top leaders of the 5 magnates even said that if the 4 hidden dragons were given more time, the situation of the entire East Sun region would change. The East Sword Pavilion, which did not have any hidden dragons, would most likely be eliminated. Such a prediction made Cang Xian angry and helpless. Indeed, the 4 hidden dragons' talents were unparalleled. In the East Sun region, no one could surpass them in terms of talent. However, the East Sword Pavilion did not have any such people. Cang Xian felt helpless, but when he saw Xiao Chun, his eyes lit up with hope. In Cang Xian's eyes, Xiao Chun was the hidden dragon of the East Sword Pavilion. Only he could lead the outer sect of the East Sword Pavilion against the suppression of the 4 hidden dragons. Please add, recommend, reward. Chapter 36. It could be said that he had high hopes for Xiao Chun. The East Sword Pavilion was indeed in dire need of a hidden dragon. Only an exceptional Heaven Pride of the same level would be able to stand up against the 4 hidden dragons. Don't think that the 4 hidden dragons were only suppressing the East Sword Pavilion in the outer sect. As time passed, the other 4 great heads would gradually grow and completely suppress the East Sword Pavilion. When the hidden dragon emerged from the abyss and became a true dragon, if the East Sword Pavilion did not have a true dragon of its own, what could it use to contend against them? Without mentioning the distant future, based on the growth rate of the 4 hidden dragons, it would not be long before they were promoted to the inner sect. When that time came, wouldn't the inner sect of the East Sword Pavilion be in the same situation as the outer sect? The outer sect would be completely suppressed by the 4 hidden dragons. What about the inner sect? The core disciples would be completely suppressed. In the end, the entire East Sword Pavilion would not even be able to raise its head under the pressure of the 4 hidden dragons. Without its own hidden dragon, the East Sword Pavilion would sooner or later decline. This was something that Cang Xian had long understood. This was the reason why he was so fond of Xiao Chun. He only hoped that he would be able to carry the banner of the East Sword Pavilion and fight a fierce battle with the 4 hidden dragons, ensuring that the East Sword Pavilion would not decline for 10,000 years. Knowing Song Xian's expectations, Xiao Chun also understood that the current situation of the East Sword Pavilion was indeed not good. Although it would not affect the overall situation now, when a hidden dragon emerged from the abyss and became a true dragon, the East Sword Pavilion would truly be doomed if it did not have its own true dragon. After staying at Song Xian's place for 4 hours, Xiao Chun and the other 2 bid farewell and left. They had originally agreed to treat Mo Jia and the rest to a drink at the Dustless house, but Qin Heng and Qi Yin insisted on tagging along. Left with no choice, they could only bring the 2 of them to the Dustless house. At night, the group drank and chatted in the courtyard. Qin Heng was not as frightening as Qi Yin and was very easygoing. Very quickly, he got along well with Mo Jia and the rest. They drank until late into the night, before the group left one after another. Xiao Chun also fell asleep. Xiao Chun didn't cultivate. He had been cultivating bitterly for a year. Tonight, he planned to relax appropriately. There was no benefit in blindly cultivating. Alternating between tension and relaxation was the best way to cultivate. He fell into a deep sleep. Xiao Chun did not know that at this time, in a secluded place outside the sect, Qin Heng and Qin Shiru were walking together. Walking side by side in the middle of the night, Qin Shiru helplessly glanced at Qin Shiru and said, "Shiru, it's almost time. A few days ago, Father sent me a letter asking me to send you back. Big brother, I don't want to marry Mu Qin." Qin Shiru said stubbornly after hearing Qin Heng's words. Qin Heng was Qin Shiru's older brother. Xiao Chun didn't know this, and neither did Mo Jia and the others. Qin Shiru had never told anyone about this. She wanted to marry Mu Qin. Qin Shiru and Mu Qin were engaged. Hearing Qin Shiru's words, Qin Heng said indifferently, "Shiru, do you like junior brother?" Qin Shiru didn't answer or refute. Apparently, it was a tacit agreement. Seeing this, Qin Heng sighed helplessly. This situation was a little troublesome. Of course, Qin Heng naturally hoped that Qin Shiru could be together with Xiao Chun. However, there was no other way. His father had already made a decision, and it was hard to change it. Sighing softly, Qin Heng said to Qin Shiru with a complicated expression, "Shu, you should know that there is no turning back. At most, you have 1 more month. If you don't take the initiative to return, Father will definitely come to the East Sword Pavilion personally. If you really like Xiao Chun, give your first time to him. It's better than letting Mu Qin take advantage of you." Qin Shiru was stunned by Qin Heng's words. After a long while, she slowly said, "Big brother, give me another half a month. Tell Father not to come. When the time comes, I will return by myself." As if she had made a decision, Qin Heng didn't say anything after hearing Qin Shiru's words. He knew what his younger sister was thinking and felt extremely helpless. Qin Heng nodded silently. No one knew what Qin Heng and Qin Shiru talked about that night. Nothing was said throughout the night. Early the next morning, Xiao Chun walked out of his room and took a deep breath. He smiled and said, "4 hidden dragons suppressing the East Sword Pavilion. But I'm afraid that will only exist in fantasy." After saying that, Xiao Chun told Qin Yao and Qin Luo that he had something to do and that he would be out for a day. He told them not to worry, and then he went to the inner sect alone. This was his first time in the inner sect, and he was already the #1 disciple in the outer sect. Xiao Chun naturally wasn't a nobody in the East Sword Pavilion. Soon, there were inner sect disciples who recognized him. After asking around and finding out where Qi Yin lived, Xiao Chun directly went to her door. She didn't expect Xiao Chun to actually take the initiative to look for her. In the courtyard, looking at Xiao Chun, Qi Yin asked with a smile, "What's wrong? You actually took the initiative to come to me today. Weren't you afraid to be with me?" Xiao Chun taking the initiative to look for her made Qi Yin feel very strange. In response, Xiao Chun revealed a mischievous smile and said, "How can that be? Senior sister is such a beauty. I can't wait to be with you every day." As he said that, he glanced at Qi Yan's majestic chest with a perverted gaze. Little junior brother, if you want to die, you can just say it. I will definitely fulfill your wish. Sensing Xiao Qin's gaze, Qi Yan's smile became even brighter, but the coldness in her eyes continued to condense. Knowing that he should stop while he was ahead, Xiao Qin knew that if he continued to tease her, Qi Yan would definitely be angry. Immediately, he stopped joking and said to Qi Yan seriously, "Senior sister, I want to accept a mission." "Accept a mission? Why did you come to the inner sect to accept a mission? Isn't there a mission hall in the outer sect?" Qi Yan asked doubtfully when she heard Xiao Qin's words. "The mission I accepted didn't have one in the outer sect." "No? What mission do you want to accept?" "I want to accept a mission to kill a mysterious origin realm martial artist." He directly stated his intention. However, Qi Yan was stunned when she heard Xiao Qin's words. What did he mean? He wanted to accept a mission to kill a mysterious origin realm martial artist? Was this kid crazy? Her first impression was that Xiao Qin was crazy. A yellow realm martial artist wanted to kill a mysterious origin realm martial artist. If this wasn't crazy, what was it? He was obviously courting death. Facing Qi Yan's surprise, Xiao Qin still said calmly, "How about it, senior sister? Can you help me arrange it? It's best if it's not too troublesome. It's the kind that can be done in a day." At first, Qi Yan didn't know what Xiao Qin meant, but soon, she came back to her senses. Xiao Qin was obviously doing this for the 4 hidden dragons. They all had the record of killing a mysterious origin realm martial artist when they were in the Yellow Realm. Today, Xiao Qin also wanted to challenge a mysterious origin realm martial artist. Without a doubt, Xiao Qin wanted to prove to the world that the East Sword Pavilion also had its own hidden dragons. Please add, recommend, reward. Chapter 37. Qi Yan looked at Xiao Qin with a complicated gaze. She had never imagined that Xiao Qin would actually choose to challenge a mysterious Yuan stage expert. Xiao Qin was undoubtedly considering the East Sword Pavilion's reputation. Last night, Xiao Qin had heard from Qin Heng about the discussions regarding the competition between the East Sword Pavilion and the Blood Demon Hall. Over 80% of the people in the entire Danyang region believed that the East Sword Pavilion would undoubtedly lose. The reason was very simple. No one in the East Sword Pavilion's outer sect could contend against Tian Dao. Of the 3 matches, one had already been decided before it had even begun. The East Sword Pavilion doesn't have any hidden dragons, so we can't see anything yet. However, as time passes, they will definitely be kicked out by the other 4 hegemons. Yeah, the 4 hidden dragons are currently only in the outer sect, but they have already suppressed the East Sword Pavilion's outer sect to the point where they can't even raise their heads. It will soon be the East Sword Pavilion's turn. Don't go too far. The Blood Demon Hall will definitely emerge victorious in this battle for the Spirit Vein. Once Tian Dao appears, who in the East Sword Pavilion's outer sect will be able to contend against him? These words were said by Qin Heng yesterday. From start to end, Xiao Qin had not expressed his opinion. In the beginning, Qi Yan was somewhat depressed. After all, Xiao Qin's performance was too indifferent. Who could have imagined that Xiao Qin would take the initiative to look for her early in the morning? After a long silence, Qi Yan finally revealed an extremely rare, serious expression. "Junior brother, are you sure? You want to challenge a mysterious Yuan stage practitioner?" Xiao Qin nodded in response to Qi Yan's inquiry. Subsequently, the 2 of them arrived at the Inner Sect Mission Hall. As the number 1 disciple of the Inner Sect and Song Xian's disciple, Qi Yan naturally had quite a few privileges. After explaining her intentions, the elders of the Inner Sect Mission Hall all had interesting expressions on their faces. The number 1 disciple of the Outer Sect was actually going to accept a mission to kill a mysterious Yuan stage practitioner. Everyone knew what Xiao Qin's actions represented. Moreover, they also understood that once Xiao Qin succeeded, the reputation of the East Sword Pavilion would rise greatly. Knowing how important this matter was, the elders did not dare to make a decision on their own, and could only report it to the Song Xian trio. Upon receiving the news, Song Xian, Song Yun, and Song Long soon appeared in the Inner Sect Mission Hall. Their gazes were complicated as they looked towards Xiao Qin. Song Xian was the first to speak. Song Xian wanted to persuade Xiao Chun to reconsider, but when the words were on the tip of his tongue, he couldn't bring himself to say it. This was because even Song Xian himself was eager to see Xiao Chun grow up and become a hidden dragon of the East Sword Pavilion and compete with Skyblade and the other three. Xiao Chun smiled faintly, knowing what Song Xian wanted to say. Master, don't worry. I won't do something I'm not confident in. He gestured for Song Xian to rest assured. Upon hearing Song Xian's words, Song Yun, as the pavilion master, decided. Then let's let Xiao Chun give a try. Let Qi Yin go with him. If he can't beat him, Qi Yin can kill him. In the end, he agreed to let Xiao Chun give a try. However, Qi Yin had to accompany him along the way. This was also a way to protect Xiao Chun. Upon hearing Song Yun's words, Song Long agreed. After a moment of silence, Song Xian also nodded in agreement. Soon after, Xiao Chun finally chose a mission to kill the Poison Dragon Prince. The Poison Dragon Prince was at the initial mysterious Yuan stage. He had committed several family massacres in Tianfeng City, which was not far from the East Sword Pavilion. As a result, he was wanted by the East Sword Pavilion and was sent to the Intersect Mission Hall. The initial mysterious Yuan stage cultivation was just right for Xiao Chun. Moreover, Tianfeng City was not far from the East Sword Pavilion, so it would take at most 2 days for a round trip. After choosing the mission, Xiao Chun rode on the green feather eagle, accompanied by Qi Yin, and rushed towards Tianfeng City. Not long after the two left the East Sword Pavilion, news of the number 1 Outer Sect disciple accepting the mission to kill the Poison Dragon Prince quickly spread. For a time, the entire East Sword Pavilion was in an uproar. Is this kid trying to declare war on the 4 great hidden dragons? The 4 great hidden dragons all have records of killing mysterious Yuan stage practitioners. Xiao Chun is clearly doing this to prove to the world that the East Sword Pavilion also has its own hidden dragon. But will he succeed? Killing an enemy at a higher cultivation level is not something an ordinary genius can do. The difference between each cultivation level is like the difference between heaven and earth. In the entire Eastern Sun region, only the 4 great hidden dragons are able to kill an enemy at a higher cultivation level. Numerous disciples discussed. There were even some disciples who used various channels to borrow green feather eagles from the East Sword Pavilion and hastily rushed towards Tianfeng City. On this day, green feather eagles continuously flew out from the East Sword Pavilion. Several disciples or elders were seated on the back of each green feather eagle. Such a change confused the surrounding practitioners of the East Sword Pavilion. They did not know what the East Sword Pavilion was planning to do. So many disciples and elders were moving out together. Were they trying to start a war? They did not know that their decision had caused such a huge uproar in the East Sword Pavilion. No one knew that even the Song Yin trio had secretly rushed to Tianfeng City at this time, though they did not show themselves. They wanted to see with their own eyes whether Xiao Chun was the hidden dragon that the East Sword Pavilion had been looking forward to. Xiao Chun arrived at Tianfeng City in only 6 to 8 hours after traveling at full speed. He did not know the exact location of the poisonous dragon prince, but before they set off, Song Xian had used the power of the East Sword Pavilion to help Xiao Chun find the poisonous dragon prince's location. At this time, as the two entered the city, the Tianfeng City Lord also informed Qi Yin of the news. It was naturally not difficult to find a person by mobilizing all the power of the East Sword Pavilion. After confirming the location of the poisonous dragon prince, the Tianfeng City Lord looked at Qi Yin and said, "When do you think we should make a move?" Tianfeng City was only a small city, so the City Lord's cultivation was only at the beginning of the mysterious Yuan stage, the same as the poisonous dragon prince. It was because of this that he had asked the East Sword Pavilion for help. Otherwise, he would have killed the poisonous dragon prince himself. The City Lord respectfully asked Qi Yin. As for Xiao Chun, an outer disciple who was only at the completion of the Yellow Realm, the City Lord naturally ignored him. Ignoring the City Lord, Qi Yin turned to Xiao Chun and said, "When do we make a move? Let's do it now." Since they didn't want to waste any time, They had to make their move now. Under the city lord's lead, the group arrived at an ordinary courtyard in the city. This was where young Master Venomous Jiao hid in Tianfeng City. From the outside, it looked no different from an ordinary house. This is the residence of the poisonous dragon prince. The city lord said, "Junior brother, let's watch your performance." Hearing the city lord's words, Qi Yin smiled slightly and took a step back at the same time. Her meaning was obvious. She would not interfere. Seeing Qi Yin's actions, the city lord was a little confused. What was going on? Killing the poisonous dragon prince was not done by Qi Yin, an inner disciple, but by an outer disciple. Please add, recommend, reward. Chapter 38. The mayor glanced at Qi Yin, who had retreated to the side, and then looked at the indifferent Xiao Chun. The mayor felt that his brain was not enough to process the situation. What was the meaning of this? Sending an outer disciple to kill the poisonous dragon prince? Was this a suicide mission? The mayor could not be blamed for having such thoughts. It was simply impossible for a warrior of the Yellow Realm to kill a warrior of the mysterious Yuan Realm. There were billions of people in the Dongyang region, but there were only 4 people who could kill a warrior of the mysterious Yuan Realm at the Yellow Realm. They were the 4 hidden dragons. Out of billions of people, only 4 could do it. This showed how difficult it was. The difference between realms was substantial. Every breakthrough to a new realm could be said to be a sublimation of life. Therefore, to be able to kill an enemy of a higher realm was simply a miracle. Ignoring the mayor's shock, Xiao Chun slowly walked to the front of the courtyard. He casually kicked the door open and strode into the courtyard. Following Xiao Chen's entry, a man of about 30 years old walked out of the room. His skin was white and clean. At first glance, he really did look like a young master of an aristocratic family. "Who are you?" The man looked at Xiao Chun with an unfriendly gaze and asked indifferently. Needless to say, the man's cultivation was at the beginning of the mysterious Yuan realm. Naturally, he was the poisonous dragon prince. With an indifferent smile on his face, Xiao Chun replied, "The person who will kill you. You are a disciple of the Eastern Sword Pavilion." Hearing Xiao Chen's words, the poisonous dragon prince's expression changed slightly. The poisonous dragon prince already knew that the Eastern Sword Pavilion wanted him. However, he did not expect it to come so quickly. For a moment, he was lost in thought. After all, in front of the Eastern Sword Pavilion, he was just an ant that could be casually crushed. Any inner disciple could kill him. He had originally planned to leave Tianfeng City tonight, but he was still a step too late. There was a moment of panic in his heart, but soon, after sensing Xiao Chen's cultivation, the poisonous dragon prince sneered. "Ha! Are the people of the Eastern Sword Pavilion stupid? How dare they send a nobody at the completion of the Yellow Realm to kill me?" Mr. Poisonous Dragon was a little scared at first, but after realizing Xiao Chen's cultivation, he could not help but sneer. Xiao Chen was only at the completion of the Yellow Realm. How could such a nonentity want to kill him? At the same time, the Eastern Sword Pavilion's green feather eagles continuously flew over from the horizon. They quickly found Xiao Chun and the Poison Dragon Prince. In a short span of a dozen breaths, there were over 30 green feather eagles circling above the Poison Dragon Prince's head. They did not land, but they also did not seem to have any intention of leaving. They simply circled in the air. Seeing that there were at least 5 Eastern Sword Pavilion disciples on each of the azure feather eagles, and there were even elders, Sir Poison Jiao's laughter came to an abrupt halt. His face instantly paled, and he could not help but curse in his heart. Mother Aster's has the Eastern Sword Pavilion gone mad? Over 100 disciples and more than 10 elders have been dispatched to capture me? The Poison Dragon Prince's face paled as he thought that these people were all here to capture him. Under such a lineup, even if he was an Earth Mirror or a Celestial Realm Warrior, he would not be able to escape, let alone a mysterious Yuan Realm Warrior. He could not understand why the Eastern Sword Pavilion would dispatch such a powerful lineup just for a nobody like him. Weren't they thinking too highly of him? However, the Poison Dragon Prince did not know that these people were not here to kill him. They were here to see with their own eyes whether Shao Chan was the hidden dragon that the Eastern Sword Pavilion had been waiting for. Seeing through the poison dragon prince's thoughts, Shao Chen's face was calm. He unsheathed his Qingyun sword and pointed it at the ground. Don't be afraid. They will not attack you. Your only opponent is me. Defeat me, and I will let you go today. In order to prevent the poison dragon prince from being afraid and not being willing to fight with all his strength, Shao Chan made a special promise. Hearing this, the poison dragon prince's face became even more confused. What was going on? They had dispatched so many people, but in the end, they only sent a nobody at the completion of the Yellow Realm. Were they toying with him? At first, he thought that the Eastern Sword Pavilion was toying with him, but there was no reason. With the Eastern Sword Pavilion status in the Eastern Sun region, what reason did they have to play with a nobody at the beginning of the mysterious Yuan realm? He could not figure it out, so he stared at Shao Chan. After a while, the poison dragon prince understood. Shao Chen's cultivation was at the completion of the Yellow Realm. In other words, he was an outer disciple of the Eastern Sword Pavilion. In this way, combined with the overall situation of the Eastern Sun region, the only explanation was that he was using himself to prove that there was a hidden dragon in the Eastern Sword Pavilion. This was the reason. Otherwise, how could there be so many disciples and elders present? They were all here to witness this moment. After figuring everything out, the poison dragon prince's face gradually calmed down. He looked at Shao Chun and said word by word, "The 4 hidden dragons of the Eastern Sun region all have the record of killing a warrior at the mysterious Yuan realm. However, the Eastern Sword Pavilion has never had a hidden dragon. Today, you are here to prove to the world through me that the hidden dragon of the Eastern Sword Pavilion is about to be born, right?" Yes. Facing the poison dragon prince's question, Shao Chun did not hide anything and simply replied. Hearing Shao Chen's answer, the poison dragon prince's face darkened. He then asked, "You just said that as long as I defeat you, I can leave?" "That's right. I can make this decision. As long as you can defeat me, I will let you leave today. As for whether you can escape the Eastern Sword Pavilion's wanted list in the future, that will depend on your own ability." Shao Chen said. "That's what you said." Shao Chen's words seemed to have given the poison dragon prince a reassurance. Immediately, a mysterious Yuan realm spiritual energy fluctuation spread out from the poison dragon prince's body. The battle was about to begin. The group of disciples and elders in the sky held their breaths as they watched everything below. They did not know whether the hidden dragon of the Eastern Sword Pavilion would appear today, or whether everything was just an illusion or a castle in the air. The battle was about to erupt. At the same time, the matter in Tianfeng City quickly spread to the ears of the other 4 giants. Spies from the 4 giants constantly rushed to Tianfeng City to pass on the news. Heavens, the hidden dragon of the Eastern Sword Pavilion is about to be born. Quickly pass on the news back to the sect. What hidden dragon? It's already been 3 years, and there are no signs of the hidden dragon appearing. Now, it suddenly appeared. Let's kill the poison dragon prince first. No matter what, this is a big matter. We must pass on the news as soon as possible. Damn, why the hell did you send a carrier pigeon? By the time the carrier pigeon flies back, it'll be too late. Just use a sound transmission talisman. The spies of the 4 giants constantly sent news back to the sect. In order to let the sect receive the news as soon as possible, they didn't hesitate to use sound transmission talismans. Please add, recommend, reward. Chapter 39. At this moment, it could be said that the eyes of the entire Danyang region were locked on Tianfeng City. Under everyone's gaze, Shao Chun and the poisonous dragon prince finally attacked at the same time and immediately engaged in a fierce battle. The battle broke out. At the same time, the Blood Demon Hall, Myriad Immortal House, Lesan Prefecture, and Fire Cloud Sect, the 4 great heads, also received news from their spies. They heard that a hidden dragon was about to appear in the Eastern Sword Pavilion. For a time, the upper echelons of the 4 great heads paid close attention. There's been no news for 3 years, but a hidden dragon suddenly appeared today. This East Sword Pavilion. The Blood Demon Hall Master said. Could it be that the East Sword Pavilion hid their hidden dragon for 3 years? Only today did they release him? The Myriad Immortal House Master said. Xiao Chun, who is this Xiao Chun? Go and find out everything about him. I want to know everything about him, from the moment he was born until now. The chief of the Lesan Prefecture said. Back then, there was a sign that the 5 dragons of our Eastern Sun region would rise together. 3 years have passed, but no hidden dragon has appeared in the East Sword Pavilion. This old man thought that there was a deviation. I didn't expect that the East Sword Pavilion would make such a big move today. Pass down my order. Pay close attention to Xiao Chun. Report to me immediately if there's anything related to Xiao Chun, the Fire Cloud Sect Master said. The sect masters of the 4 giants fixed their gazes on Xiao Chun. Apart from the top figures of the older generation, the 4 hidden dragons also received the news. On a mountain peak of the Blood Demon Hall, a young man was practicing his blade technique. At this moment, a purple-clothed beauty rushed over. Looking at the young man, she said in shock, Senior brother, the hidden dragon of the East Sword Pavilion has appeared. The young man was the Blood Demon Hall's hidden dragon, Heavenly Blade. After learning about Xiao Chun, the purple-clothed beauty rushed over immediately. Hearing this, Heavenly Blade's face didn't change at all, as if he had expected it. I knew that you would become the true dragon of the East Sword Pavilion sooner or later. Because without you, the East Sword Pavilion's foundation would collapse within 10 years. There was not the slightest bit of shock. The same scene also occurred in the Myriad Immortal Tower, Lesan Prefecture, and Fire Cloud Sect. Has the Eastern Sword Pavilion's hidden dragon finally arrived? It seems interesting. However, everything will have to wait until he kills young, noble, venomous dragon. Hidden Dragon Mu Qing of the 10,000 Immortal House said with a smile after hearing the news. Sister, are you saying that this Xiao Chun is the person who came to our Xanadu? Within the Lesan Prefecture, Hidden Dragon Lin Xing and Wan Er sat across from each other. Lin Xing looked at his sister and asked, At that time, I already told you that this person wasn't simple. I wanted you to go with me to the death arena to take a look, but you refused. Naturally, it was him. Hearing Lin Xing's words, Wan Er smiled. It doesn't matter. If he really is the hidden dragon of the East Sword Pavilion, we will have the opportunity to meet him in the future. However, if he's just a facade, then there's no point in meeting him. Hearing Wan Er's reply, Lin Xing faintly smiled. Within the Fire Cloud Sect, within a blazing mountain valley, a young man wrapped in raging flames slowly walked out. Just as he walked out of the valley, a Fire Cloud Sect attendant quickly walked up to the young man and said with a shocked expression, Young Master, the East Sword Pavilion's hidden dragon has appeared. Oh, is the news accurate? Hearing the attendant's words, the young man asked. It's absolutely true. After 3 years, the East Sword Pavilion's hidden dragon has finally appeared. Interesting. Get ready. I'm going to the Sword Demon Mountain Range and personally see just how strong the East Sword Pavilion's hidden dragon is. A faint smile hung on the young man's face as he said. The young man was naturally the Fire Cloud Sect's hidden dragon, Zhao Wuyun. After hearing the news about Xiao Chun, he immediately prepared to go to the Sword Demon Mountain Range and personally see just what kind of person the East Sword Pavilion's hidden dragon was. The 4 great hidden dragons of the Eastern Sun region had been bored for too long. With their talent, people of the same generation, even experts of the older generation, simply couldn't enter their eyes. This was because no matter how much their current strength surpassed theirs, in their hearts, it wouldn't take long for them to catch up. Therefore, in the entire Eastern Sun region, the only people that could make them pay attention to were each other. However, there were only 4 of them, and they had been tit for tat for several years. They had long since grown tired of it. At this time, the East Sword Pavilion, which had been quiet all this time, suddenly had a hidden dragon appear, which naturally aroused the interest of the 4 great hidden dragons. The entire Eastern Sun region was in an uproar, but the most important thing was still in Tianfeng City. This was because Xiao Chun could only preliminarily prove that he had the potential to be a hidden dragon after killing a mysterious Yuan realm warrior. Before the outcome of the battle was clear, everything was just empty talk. After more than 100 fierce moves, it had to be said that the battle power of a mysterious Yuan realm warrior was indeed far superior to that of a yellow realm warrior. The two sides were not at the same level at all. He didn't have the slightest advantage, but there were no signs of him losing either. After more than 100 fierce moves, Xiao Chun and the poisonous dragon prince could be said to be evenly matched. Although the outcome of the battle was not clear, it was already amazing enough. A warrior at the completion of the Yellow Realm could actually fight a warrior at the beginning of the mysterious Yuan realm for more than 100 moves without being at a disadvantage. This was already hard for the crowd to accept. Under normal circumstances, even Wang, who from the outer sect, would not be able to last more than a few moves against the poisonous dragon prince. However, Xiao Chun was still undefeated after more than 100 moves. Many disciples and elders of the Sword Pavilion in the sky were excited when they saw the two of them fighting. Some of the older elders even had tears streaming down their cheeks as they spoke. A warrior at the Yellow Realm can fight a warrior at the mysterious Yuan Realm without being defeated. He is the hidden dragon of the Eastern Sword Pavilion. He is the hidden dragon of the Eastern Sword Pavilion. The outcome of the battle was not clear yet, but some elders had already admitted that Xiao Chun was the hidden dragon of the Eastern Sword Pavilion. This was because in the entire Eastern Sword Pavilion, no one could do what Xiao Chun had done. Even those core disciples could not compete with a warrior at the mysterious Yuan realm when they were at the Yellow Realm. Some people were excited because of Xiao Chun. Naturally, there were also people who tried to undermine him. A few disciples and elders said with jealousy, "Humph, it has already been more than 100 moves. Is this considered a hidden dragon? I heard that when the 4 real dragons killed a warrior at the mysterious Yuan realm, it only took a moment. It seems that there is still a gap between Xiao Chun and the 4 real dragons. That's enough. Xiao Chun is only at the completion of the Yellow Realm. If he breaks through to the completion of the Yellow Realm, I believe that he can also kill a warrior at the mysterious Yuan realm in a flash." Hearing these people's jealousy and ridicule, most people immediately retorted. It had to be said that the narrow-minded people were in the minority. More disciples and elders sincerely hoped that the Eastern Sword Pavilion could become stronger. Please add, recommend, reward. Chapter 40. Most people still hoped that the East Sword Pavilion could have its own hidden dragon. After all, the current situation was like this. If you didn't have a hidden dragon, you could only be suppressed by others until you were kicked out in the end. The people in the sky nervously watched the battle below. At the same time, Xiao Chun, who was in the middle of a fierce battle, suddenly took the initiative to retreat. Seeing Xiao Chun take the initiative to retreat, everyone frowned. He was clearly not at a disadvantage. So why did Xiao Chun retreat? Could it be that he couldn't kill the poisonous dragon prince? They didn't understand why Xiao Chun suddenly retreated, but soon Xiao Chun gave them an answer. After pulling away from the poisonous dragon prince, Xiao Chun shook his numb arm and said softly, "Yes, the power of a mysterious Yuan realm warrior is indeed much stronger than that of a yellow realm warrior. But that's all. The game ends here. It's time to send you on your way." The game ends here? In Xiao Chun's eyes, the fierce battle of more than 100 moves was just a game? Hearing this, the poisonous dragon prince's face darkened and he shouted angrily, "Boy, be careful of your tongue. I admit that I can't do anything to you, but you can't do anything to me either. At most, we'll both be injured. Don't brag here." In the fierce battle of more than 100 moves, Xiao Chun's strength had indeed shocked the poisonous dragon prince. However, he knew that Xiao Chun couldn't kill him because Xiao Chun's combat power wasn't enough to kill him. Ignoring the poisonous dragon prince's angry shout, Xiao Chun smiled and said, as if he was talking to himself, "I heard that the 4 hidden dragons didn't take more than 10 moves to kill a mysterious Yuan realm warrior. However, my cultivation hasn't reached the completion of the Yellow Realm, so I'm afraid I can't kill you within 10 moves. Fine, I'll finish you within 30 moves. Like Tian Dao and Mu Qing, the 4 hidden dragons, it took them less than 10 moves to kill mysterious Yuan realm warriors. However, their cultivations had already reached the completion of the Yellow Realm. Xiao Chun, on the other hand, was only at the completion of the Yellow Realm, 1 realm lower than them. Therefore, Xiao Chun admitted that he could not kill the poisonous dragon prince within 10 moves. He calmly admitted that he couldn't do it like the other 4 hidden dragons, but these words still made the poisonous dragon prince completely angry. What did he mean? He wanted to kill him within 30 moves? Bullshit. If that was the case, then what was the previous fierce battle? A warm-up? The fury in his eyes seemed to be about to burst. If looks could kill, Xiao Chan would have died hundreds of times over. Ignoring the poisonous dragon prince's murderous gaze, Xiao Chen's body was surrounded by sword qi at the level of small success. Feeling the sword qi, the poisonous dragon prince's face changed. Xiao Chen didn't use sword qi just now. Sword qi at the level of small success. The poisonous dragon prince didn't expect Xiao Chen to still be holding back. Moreover, sword qi at the level of small success was enough to pose a fatal threat to him. Looking at Xiao Chen, the poisonous dragon prince's face turned ugly. The sword qi at the level of small success made the poisonous dragon prince's face change greatly. However, it was impossible to kill him within 30 moves with just this, unless Xiao Chun had other tricks up his sleeve. But was that possible? Besides sword qi, did Xiao Chun have other tricks up his sleeve? Facing the indifferent and confident Xiao Chun, the poisonous dragon prince felt even more uncertain. The youth in front of him was like a bottomless pit. He would never know where his limit was. If I can't kill you within 30 moves, I'll let you go. First move, not giving the poisonous dragon prince a chance, Xiao Chun indifferently said. As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Chun took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of the poisonous dragon prince. Seeing this, the poisonous dragon prince subconsciously said, so fast, he didn't see Xiao Chen's movements at all. Not only him, but all the elders and disciples in the air were also stunned. Then, they said in shock, high-rank movement skill, 7-star steps. And it's even at the perfection stage. After using the 7-star steps, Xiao Chan directly stuck to the poisonous dragon prince. Then, the situation of the battle was completely reversed. The poisonous dragon prince, who was originally evenly matched with Xiao Chun, was instantly suppressed by Xiao Chun. The poisonous dragon prince was completely suppressed. At the same time, seeing the sword techniques in Xiao Chen's hands constantly changing, the elders and disciples of the Eastern Sword Pavilion were unable to remain calm. Shadow Sword Strike, Blazing Sword Technique, 5 Mountain Sword Technique, a total of 10 high-rank martial skills had reached the perfection stage. At the age of 19, Xiao Chun had already cultivated 10 upper-class martial arts techniques to the transformative level. In other words, on average, it only took Xiao Chun a little more than a month to go from the beginner level to the transformative level for each martial art technique. What kind of concept was this? An ordinary Eastern Sword Pavilion disciple would need at least half a year to cultivate a high-rank martial skill from the entry level to the perfection stage. But Xiao Chun only needed a little more than a month. 10 superior martial skills, all of which have reached the transformative realm. How'd he do it? Even the elders couldn't believe what they were seeing. Not only them, but Song Xian and the other 2 also couldn't believe it. At this time, Song Yin looked at Song Xian and smiled. Seeing your brother to be able to cultivate 10 high-rank martial skills to the perfection stage in a year, this kid's understanding of the Sword Dao is probably not inferior to an ordinary intersect disciple. Chunar, Song Yin was shocked, but also very gratified. Hearing his words, Song Xian fell into a daze. He didn't think that Xiao Chen's growth in a year would actually reach such a level. Even Song Xian found it hard to imagine. But thinking about it, if he wanted to compete with the 4 great hidden dragons, he would have to achieve this. After all, none of the 4 great hidden dragons were easy to deal with. 10 perfection stage high-rank martial skills were switched back and forth. Under the shocked gazes of the crowd, A scene that made everyone's blood boil finally appeared. They saw Shao Chen's sword flick, and the poisonous dragon prince's head directly flew into the air. Dead. He had successfully killed the poisonous dragon prince. In just 27 moves, he had killed the poisonous dragon prince, who was at the initial mysterious Yuan stage. Everyone fell into a daze. This scene, the entire Eastern Sword Pavilion had been waiting for this scene for 3 whole years. In these 3 years, the Blood Demon Palace, Leshan Prefecture, Myriad Immortal House, and Fire Cloud Sect had all welcomed their own hidden dragons. And under the radiance of the 4 great hidden dragons, all the disciples of the Eastern Sword Pavilion appeared dim and dull. And today, after 3 years of waiting, the Eastern Sword Pavilion had finally welcomed their own hidden dragon. Under the radiance of the 4 great hidden dragons, the Eastern Sword Pavilion also erupted with their own radiance. All the elders and disciples of the Eastern Sword Pavilion were incomparably excited as they stared at the white-clothed figure standing proudly with a sword in his hand. Success, he had really succeeded. Shao Chan had crossed an entire realm and successfully killed the poisonous dragon prince. The hidden dragon of my Eastern Sword Pavilion has finally appeared. A white-haired elder was so emotional that tears flowed down his face. His body trembled as he faced the sky and let out a long howl. Please collect, recommend, reward. Chapter 41. After killing the young noble poison dragon in 27 moves, Shao Chen slowly sheathed his sword before turning around and returning to Qi Yan's side with a smile. Let's go. There was not much excitement in his voice. It was as if this was how it should be. Hearing Shao Chen's words, Qi Yan took a while to come back to her senses. Then, she replied with an "oh" and left with Shao Chun. He had finally appeared. Although Shao Chun hadn't fought with the other 4 hidden dragons, it was undeniable that Shao Chun had done something no one else in the East Sword Pavilion could do, and that was to kill an enemy who was a whole realm higher. This was also the most direct proof of the potential of a hidden dragon. As for whether Shao Chun would be a match for the other 4 hidden dragons, time would tell. Under the gazes of many disciples and elders filled with excitement and worship, he left. At the same time, the news of this matter quickly spread to the other 4 heads. Hearing that Shao Chun had actually managed to kill the venomous dragon prince despite being at a higher cultivation level than him, the 4 leaders' faces all became serious. The East Sword Pavilion had finally produced a hidden dragon. Senior brother, aren't you surprised at all? That Shao Chun really killed the young noble poison dragon. In the Blood Demon Hall, the purple-clothed beauty looked at Skyblade with a gloomy expression. Skyblade's expression towards the news of Shao Chun was too calm, as if he had already known about it. Regarding this, the purple-clothed beauty was somewhat dissatisfied and said with a pout. After hearing the purple-clothed beauty's words, Skyblade faintly smiled and said, "He is the East Sword Pavilion's hidden dragon, and only he can stand up against the 4 of us. Therefore, the outcome has long been decided." After knowing that Shao Chun had killed the young noble poison dragon, Mu Qing and Lin Xing, who were in the Myriad Immortals House and Leshan Prefecture respectively, said with a faint smile, "The 5 hidden dragons? Interesting. It looks like this Sword Demon Mountain range is worth a trip. Let's see if this hidden dragon of the Eastern Sword Pavilion is a match for Tian Dao." After confirming that Shao Chun had killed the poison Jiao Prince, Lin Xing and Mu Qing prepared to personally head to the Sword Demon Mountain range to witness the great battle between the 2 great hidden dragons. Originally, if Shao Chun had not appeared out of nowhere, Mu Qing, Lin Xing, and Zhao Wuyun would definitely not have paid attention to the Sword Demon Mountain range. After all, in their eyes, an Eastern Sword Pavilion without a hidden dragon was not worthy of their attention. Moreover, when Skyblade took action, no one in the Eastern Sword Pavilion's outer court could stop him. However, things are different now. Shao Chen's appearance meant that the Eastern Sword Pavilion had its own hidden dragon. The battle between the 2 dragons was naturally worth their attention. Moreover, Xiao Chun had just appeared, and they wanted to personally confirm whether Xiao Chun had the qualifications to be ranked with them as the 5 hidden dragons of the Eastern Sun region. In other words, from today onwards, the Eastern Sun region would have 5 hidden dragons, or would it still have 4 hidden dragons? Xiao Chen's name could be said to have spread among the 5 great leaders. Even the ordinary disciples had heard of the news that a hidden dragon had appeared in the Eastern Sword Pavilion. It was worth mentioning that Chun Muxiue, who had been accepted as a disciple by the beautiful woman in the Myriad Immortals' house, had also heard of this news. After entering the Myriad Immortals' house and being accepted as a disciple by an elder, Chun Muxiue could be said to have leaped over the Dragon Gate. Moreover, after activating her seductive bone, Chun Muxiue became even more charming and was even rated as one of the 3 great beauties of the Myriad Immortals' house. Originally, Chun Muxiue thought that she could completely crush Xiao Chun, and the flames of revenge in her heart burned fiercely. However, after hearing the news about Xiao Chun, Chun Muxiue was dumbfounded. How could this be? Hidden Dragon. Chun Muxiue, who had joined the Myriad Immortal Tower, knew very well what this word represented. Take their Myriad Immortal Tower's hidden dragon Mu Qing as an example. In the entire Myriad Immortal Tower, his status was only slightly lower than the sect master. Even the core disciples had to be polite to him. It was no exaggeration to say that as long as one was rated as a hidden dragon, it represented the hope of a sect. In her residence, Chun Muxiue kept shaking her head and comforting herself. Impossible. It can't be him. It should be someone with the same name. Yes, it must be like this. How long has it been since he entered the Eastern Sword Pavilion? It can't be him. She was unwilling to accept this fact. Before seeing Xiao Chun with her own eyes, Chun Muxiue would rather die than believe that Xiao Chun would become the hidden dragon of the Eastern Sword Pavilion. She kept reminding herself. At this moment, a handsome young man slowly walked into Chun Muxiue's room. Looking at Chun Muxiue, who was in a daze, the young man revealed a smile. Then, he carried Chun Muxiue to the bed. Chun Muxiue didn't struggle in the young man's arms. This young man was called Wang Wen and was Chun Muxiue's backer in the Myriad Immortals' house. At the same time, Wang Wen was also Mu Qing's trusted aide. It was also because of Wang Wen's high status in the Myriad Immortals' house that Chun Muxiue was willing to give herself to him. Senior brother, you promised to accompany me back to the Mountain Ridge County. When are we leaving? Let's wait a little longer. A hidden dragon has appeared in the Eastern Sword Pavilion. Senior brother Mu Qing wants to go to the Sword Demon Mountain Range personally. He asked me to accompany him and wait for me to return. Don't worry, Muxiue, I will help you destroy a small family in the Mountain Ridge County. Even the Eastern Sword Pavilion won't dare to say anything. Wang Wen was completely captivated by Chun Muxiue. That was why he had promised to help her destroy the Xiao family. He knew that someone from the Xiao family had entered the Eastern Sword Pavilion. But in Wang Wen's opinion, with his status by Mu Qing's side, even if the Eastern Sword Pavilion knew about it, they wouldn't dare to say anything. Of course, in Wang Wen's heart, he only thought that Xiao Chun was an ordinary disciple of the Eastern Sword Pavilion. He didn't know that Xiao Chun was now the hidden dragon of the Eastern Sword Pavilion. After hearing Wang Wen's promise, Chun Muxiue smiled charmingly and took the initiative to wrap her arms around Wang Wen's neck. Then, the two of them, unaware of Chun Muxiue's situation, after returning to the Eastern Sword Pavilion, Xiao Chun didn't care about the changes in the outside world. Even though there were countless people requesting to see him every day, unless it was necessary, Xiao Chun wouldn't meet anyone. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. After 3 days of fermenting, the battle between the Eastern Sword Pavilion and the Blood Demon Hall in the Sword Demon Mountain Range attracted countless attention due to the emergence of the Eastern Sword Pavilion's hidden dragon. After all, this was the first time the Eastern Sword Pavilion's hidden dragon clashed with the Blood Demon Hall's hidden dragon. On the day of departure, this time, Song Xian led the team. There weren't many people. There were only 3 disciples, Xiao Chun, Qi Yin, and Qin Hong. Apart from them, there were only 4 elders accompanying them. There were a total of 8 people. Riding on 2 green feathered eagles, Xiao Chun and the others soared into the sky. At the same time, flying monsters also soared into the sky from the Blood Demon Hall, Lesan Prefecture, Myriad Immortal House, and Fire Cloud Sect. Their destination was the Sword Demon Mountain Range. Please add, recommend, reward. Chapter 42. Due to Shao Chen's sudden appearance, the battle in the Sword Demon Mountain Range that no one had paid attention to had now become the center of attention. The gathering of the 5 great hidden dragons was indeed enough to attract everyone's attention. Of course, it was still too early to talk about the 5 great hidden dragons. After all, Shao Chun had just made a name for himself, and it was still unknown how his strength compared to the other 4 great hidden dragons. However, it would not be long before the results would be known. This time, Shao Chun would be facing the Blood Demon Hall's hidden dragon, Heavenly Blade. As long as Shao Chun could contend against the Heavenly Blade, it would prove that Shao Chun truly had the potential to be a hidden dragon. Riding on the green feather eagle, Shao Chun's group arrived at the Sword Demon Mountain Range 2 days later. A huge mountain range stretched across the land for an unknown number of miles. This mountain range was the border between the Eastern Sword Pavilion and the Blood Demon Hall. The Eastern Sword Pavilion's sphere of influence was to the east of the mountain range, while the Blood Demon Hall's sphere of influence was to the south of the mountain range. They slowly landed on the tallest mountain peak. There were already dozens of Eastern Sword Pavilion's inner disciples and attendants waiting there. Moreover, they had already set up a viewing platform and a huge battle arena. Of course, it was not only the Eastern Sword Pavilion that was present, but the Blood Demon Hall was also present. After Shao Chen's group appeared, the Eastern Sword Pavilion's crowd stepped forward. They first bowed to Song Xian, before their gazes were fixed on Shao Chun. They naturally knew about what had happened in Tianfeng City. After learning that Shao Chun was already a hidden dragon of the Eastern Sword Pavilion, everyone was naturally curious. At the same time, a look of worship appeared in their eyes as they looked at Shao Chun. In this world, the strong were respected. Although Shao Chun was still young and his cultivation was very low, since he was a hidden dragon, he naturally could not be judged by common sense. Perhaps in a few years, Shao Chun would catch up to them, and even reach a height that they could only look up to. Shao Chun's expression was calm in the face of the crowd's attention. At the same time, the people from the Blood Demon Hall had also arrived. The person in charge of leading the group this time around was the second Hall Master of the Blood Demon Hall. There were not many people in the group. Other than the 3 disciples participating in the battle, there were also 4 elders in the group. The number of people was the same as the Eastern Sword Pavilion. As soon as the Blood Devil Hall appeared, everyone stopped chatting and shifted their attention to the group of people from the Blood Devil Hall. When Shao Chun spotted a young man who was about the same age as him, he was taken aback and muttered softly, "Chun Ling." That's right. Shao Chun saw Chun Ling's figure amongst the crowd from the Blood Demon Hall. Sensing Shao Chun's gaze, Chun Ling faintly smiled and took the initiative to approach Shao Chun. A faint smile hung on his face as he spoke. "We meet again. You are the hidden dragon of the Blood Demon Hall, Tian Dao?" Looking at Chun Ling, Shao Chun quickly guessed his identity and said somewhat gloomily. In fact, he should have guessed that in the entire Eastern Sun region, other than the 4 hidden dragons, who else could be on par with him? Hearing Shao Chun's words, Chun Ling smiled and nodded. At the same time, Qin Hung, who was standing by the side, saw that the 2 of them actually knew each other and said with a smile, "Why? Do you know each other?" "Yes, we are very good friends." Hearing Qin Heng's words, Shao Chun did not hide anything and replied. During the 5 months of training in the 1,000 Demon Mountain Range together, Shao Chun and Chun Ling indeed got along very well. Regarding this, there was naturally no need to hide anything. It was truly unexpected that Tian Dao was actually Chun Ling. Just as the crowd was conversing, a 27 or 28-year-old man slowly walked over from the Blood Demon Hall's side. His gaze first glanced at Qin Hung, then landed on Shao Chun's body, as he spoke with a cold smile. "You are the hidden dragon that suddenly appeared in the Eastern Sword Pavilion? I think you are here to deceive people. If you can become a hidden dragon, then I'm afraid my junior brother is a real dragon." His words were full of sarcasm. This person was a core disciple of the Blood Demon Hall, and also Qin Heng's opponent this time. Hearing his words, Xiao Chen looked at him indifferently, then asked Chen Ling indifferently, "Who is he?" There is no need to pay attention to irrelevant people. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Chen Ling also indifferently replied. He did not put this person in his eyes at all. Whether it was Xiao Chen or Chen Ling, they directly chose to ignore him. Even though he was a core disciple of the Blood Demon Hall, in front of 2 hidden dragons, he was really not enough. In the entire Donyang region, there were only hidden dragons in the eyes of the hidden dragons. The others were not worthy of their attention, because these people simply could not keep up with the hidden dragon's footsteps and would be left behind very quickly. Even if they could be opponents for a while, that was all there was to it. After hearing the words of Xiao Chen and Chen Ling clearly, the face of the core disciple of the Blood Demon Hall instantly darkened. His gaze was fixed on Xiao Chen, then he coldly glanced at Chen Ling. His heart was burning with anger, but in the end he suppressed it and did not flare up. There was no other way. Even though the 2 of them were only of the Yellow Realm and were much weaker than him, this was only temporary. It would not be long before the 2 of them caught up. Moreover, as a hidden dragon, Chen Ling's position in the Blood Demon Hall was naturally far from what he could compare with. He could not be disrespectful to Chen Ling. As for Xiao Chen, although Xiao Chen was not a disciple of the Blood Demon Hall, he could not attack Xiao Chen. This was because killing a hidden dragon in public was definitely something that would not end until one of them was dead. There were a total of 5 hidden dragons in the Donyang region, and each of them represented the hope of a giant. If you extinguished their hope, they would naturally dare to fight you to the death. Forcefully suppressing the anger in his heart, he did not dare to flare up. At the same time, the other 3 giants also appeared. First, it was the Yesan Prefecture, then the Firecloud Sect, and finally the Myriad Immortals House. The 5 giants had gathered, and each of them had a giant figure holding the line. Moreover, each of their hidden dragons had also appeared. Mu Qing, Lin Xing, and Zhao Wuyan. With the appearance of these 3 hidden dragons, the 5 hidden dragons of the Donyang region could be considered to have gathered together. Needless to say, their gazes were naturally locked on a Xiao Chen. As for the others, they were obviously ignored by them. Without the slightest hesitation, the 3 of them stepped forward almost at the same time, arriving beside Xiao Chen and Chen Ling. The 5 of them each took a side, forming a circle. This circle belonged to the 5 hidden dragons, and the core disciple of the Blood Demon Hall who was in the middle of the circle was clearly an eyesore. As expected, Zhao Weiyun glanced at the core disciple and said indifferently, "Who do you think you are? Get out." He did not show any mercy. In Zhao Weiyun's view, this place belonged to the 5 hidden dragons. Even if you were a core disciple, you were not qualified to sneak in. If any Tom, Dick, or Harry could sneak into the circle of the 5 hidden dragons, then the value of the 5 hidden dragons would be too low. Facing Zhao Weiyun's reprimand, the core disciple's eyes were about to spit fire. However, in the end, he chose to leave without saying a word, leaving the space for the 5 arrogant fellows. Please collect, recommend, reward. Chapter 43. With the 5 hidden dragons gathered together, the atmosphere became somewhat oppressive. Even Song Xian and the other heavyweights consciously chose to leave and sit down on the spectator stand, allowing the 5 little guys to confront each other. The heavyweights had no intention of interfering, and the oppressive atmosphere also made the surrounding disciples, deacons, and elders unconsciously step back. For a moment, there was no one around Xiao Chun and the other 4. Looking at the 5 hidden dragons staring at each other, the disciples of the East Sword Pavilion whispered among themselves, "My God, Sky Blade, Chen Ling, Viper Mu Qing, Tyrant Spear Lin Xing, and Sky Flame Zhao Wuyan. The 4 hidden dragons are actually gathered together. This is the first time I've seen the 4 hidden dragons at such a close distance." The disciple who spoke was already an inner disciple of the East Sword Pavilion, but he still couldn't help showing a longing look in front of Chun Ling and the other 3. The four hidden dragons were figures that all the younger generation in the Eastern Sun region worshipped. His face was full of worship, but after hearing his words, another inner disciple of the East Sword Pavilion added, "Junior brother, this is not the era of the four hidden dragons, but the five hidden dragons. Don't forget that there's also our East Sword Pavilion's Shao Chun. See for yourself, standing together with the other four hidden dragons. Shao Chun doesn't seem weak at all." Not knowing if it was because he was too excited or because he didn't react in time, this disciple actually forgot about Shao Chun. After hearing his senior brother's reminder, he turned to look at Shao Chun. In terms of aura, even the core disciples were weaker in front of Chun Ling and the other three, but Shao Chun didn't. Standing opposite the other four hidden dragons, Shao Chun's face was still as indifferent as water, and his white robe fluttered in the wind. He didn't seem weak at all. He was not the only one staring at Shao Chun. Even the deacons and elders of the East Sword Pavilion could not help but look at Shao Chun at that moment. In the past, whenever the four hidden dragons gathered, the Eastern Sword Pavilion could only stand to the side because there was not a single disciple in the pavilion who could stand together with the four hidden dragons. It was a very mysterious feeling, and there was no way to explain it. It was as though the four hidden dragons possessed a unique aura of power. This aura of power had nothing to do with cultivation bases. Even if a sky human stage elder were to stand beside the four of them, one would think that the elder was naturally weaker than the four hidden dragons. It had been 3 years. Every time the four great hidden dragons gathered, no one from the Eastern Sword Pavilion could stand up against them. However, the situation today was different. In front of the four great hidden dragons, someone from the Eastern Sword Pavilion finally stood up. Moreover, this person was not inferior to the four great hidden dragons in the slightest. They looked at each other. However, most of the time, Chun Ling and the other three's gazes landed on Shao Chun. They did not speak for a long while. In the end, it was Zhao Wuyun who was the first to open his mouth and speak. "That's right. The Eastern Sword Pavilion finally has a hidden dragon." It was just a sentence, but the meaning behind it was very clear. After seeing Shao Chun with his own eyes, Zhao Wuyun could be considered to have acknowledged Shao Chun's hidden dragon potential. Although they had not fought and did not know how strong Shao Chun was, Zhao Wuyun could be sure that Shao Chun was not weaker than the four of them. He was fully qualified to be the fifth hidden dragon in the Eastern Sun region. When Zhao Wuyun said this, Lin Xing smiled and did not say anything. Instead, it was Mu Qing who said indifferently, "Zhao Wuyun, I'm afraid it's still too early to make a conclusion. Let him fight with Chun Ling first." "Ah, Mu Qing, do you know why you've always been at the bottom among the four of us? It's because you don't have the confidence to fight against the heavens and earth. The truth is clearly in front of you, but you still don't want to admit it. Why? Are you afraid that Shao Chun's appearance will push you to the bottom again? Ah, if you don't even have this bit of confidence, I really don't know how you're worthy of the hidden dragon potential." Hearing Mu Qing's words, Lin Xing laughed disdainfully. Although the four great hidden dragons didn't have a clear ranking, the four of them were very clear about their strengths. Chun Ling, Zhao Wuyun, and Lin Xing were about the same level, while Mu Qing was always slightly weaker than the three of them. Therefore, Mu Qing had always been ranked at the bottom of the four great hidden dragons. Hearing Lin Xing's words, Mu Qing's face immediately sank. She looked at Lin Xing and said coldly, "Lin Xing, I dare you to say it again. Why? You still want to fight with me? You think I don't dare?" The two of them were at loggerheads and immediately had the intention to fight. However, just as Mu Qing's voice fell, Shao Chun, who had been silent all this while, said indifferently, "All right, go to the side if you want to fight. Don't disturb me. The match is about to begin." Shao Chun did not care about the anger in Mu Qing's eyes in the slightest. After saying those words, Shao Chun turned around and walked towards the battle stage. Seeing that, Mu Qing's face became gloomy. As for Lin Xing and Zhao Wuyun, they only lightly smiled. After that, the three of them did not say anything. They leaped onto the stage and each found a chair to sit on. Sitting on the chair, Mu Qing's gaze was still locked onto Shao Chun. Her eyes flickered with an ice-cold glint. Let me see if you're a hidden dragon or a false dragon. Clearly, Mu Qing was extremely displeased with Xiao Chen's actions. Upon hearing his words, Lin Xing once again let out a disdainful smile. This Mu Qing, in terms of talent, did indeed have the potential of a hidden dragon. However, his temperament was too poor. Moreover, he was too narrow-minded. If this continued, it would be difficult for Mu Qing to achieve great things. Ignoring Mu Qing, the 5 hidden dragons separated. On the stage, Song Xian and the second Hall Master of the Blood Demon Hall looked at each other and announced the start of the match. With a brand new spiritual vein as the stake, there would be a total of 3 matches. 3 against 2, and the first match was the main event, the battle between Xiao Chun and Chun Ling. No one expected that the battle between Xiao Chun and Chun Ling would be the first match. However, after thinking about it, this was normal. After all, the outcome of the battle between the two would affect the ownership of the spiritual vein. Letting the two of them decide the victor in the first match would cause the loser to bear a huge psychological pressure, while the victor would be able to follow up with another attack. The order of the matches was decided by the Blood Demon Hall, and Song Xian was very clear about it. If not for Xiao Chun, Song Xian would not have agreed to such an order. This was because once the first match was lost, the pressure on Qin Heng and Qi Yin would increase infinitely, which would be extremely disadvantageous for the East Sword Pavilion. However, now that Xiao Chun had appeared, Song Xian was very curious to see if Xiao Chun could contend against Heavenly Blade Chun Ling. At the same time, he also wanted to confirm if Xiao Chun could become the hope of the East Sword Pavilion and lead the East Sword Pavilion to resist the threat of the 4 hidden dragons. Please add, recommend, reward. Chapter 44. The first battle was the highly anticipated battle of the Hidden Dragon. As soon as the second Lord of the Blood Demon Palace finished speaking, Xiao Chun and Chun Ling both jumped onto the fighting ring. I didn't expect to fight you so soon. The two of them stood facing each other. Looking at Xiao Chun, Chun Ling said with a smile, I also didn't expect you to be Tian Dao. You really hid it from me in the Demon's Mountains. Hearing Chun Ling's words, Xiao Chun also smiled and replied, Ever since I knew that you were a disciple of the Eastern Sword Pavilion, I knew that the hidden dragon of the Eastern Sword Pavilion had finally appeared. Come, I wanted to fight you since we were in the 1,000 Monster Mountain range, said Chun Ling. After he finished speaking, he took out his own profound weapon, a silver-white long blade. There was a surge of fighting spirit from his body. At the same time, the blade chi that had reached the level of small success slowly appeared and surrounded Chun Ling. They met in the Demon's Mountains and trained together for 5 months. During this period, the two of them experienced countless dangers together and killed second-class and even third-class monsters together. In these countless dangers, not only did the two of them form a deep friendship, but they also witnessed each other's terrifying talents. Heroes appreciated each other. Under the premise of becoming friends, the two of them wanted to fight with each other, because only the other party could possibly be worthy of their full strength under the circumstances of being in the same realm. Feeling Chun Ling's blade, chi, and fighting spirit, Xiao Chun also smiled slightly. Then the storage ring on his hand flashed, and the Qingyun sword instantly appeared in his hand. The blade chi gushed out, and the fighting spirit also soared to the sky. I've been looking forward to this day for a long time. Since I was young, no one in the same realm was worthy of my full strength. Looking at Chun Ling, Xiao Chun said lightly, Me too, but my cultivation is 1 level higher than yours. I'll suppress it to the completion of the Yellow Realm. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Chun Ling replied and took the initiative to suppress his cultivation from the completion of the Yellow Realm to the completion of the Yellow Realm. Seeing that Chun Ling had actually taken the initiative to suppress his cultivation, Mu Qing, who was on the viewing platform, sneered. Idiot, you actually still talk about fairness. Mu Qing felt that Chun Ling's actions were foolish. However, after hearing his words, Zhao Wun indifferently spoke. This is the reason why you're still inferior to the 3 of us. This isn't stupidity, but the confidence and pride of a hidden dragon. Fighting beyond our level is as easy as eating and drinking for us, not to mention having a higher cultivation base than our opponents. If we were to use our cultivation base to suppress our opponents, it would be an insult to us. Humph! Mu Qing was speechless when faced with Zhao Wuyun's refutation. He could only coldly snort. He felt that Chun Ling suppressing his cultivation base was a foolish action, but Zhao Wuyun and Lin Xing thought otherwise. Chun Ling's action represented his pride as one of the 5 great hidden dragons. After suppressing his cultivation to the same level as Xiao Chun, Chun Ling took the initiative to attack. Be careful! As soon as he finished speaking, Chun Ling's feet moved. He displayed an upper-class body movement technique that had reached the transformative realm. His entire body charged towards Xiao Chun like a flash of lightning. Facing Chun Ling's attack, Xiao Chun didn't have any intention of retreating. He displayed the 7-star steps and directly met Chun Ling's attack. Both of their body movement techniques had reached the transformative realm. Their bodies floated and their speed was extremely fast. Even ordinary inner disciples couldn't compare to this speed. Furthermore, both of them had only cultivated upper-class martial skills. If they were to cultivate profound martial skills, it would be hard to imagine how fast their speed would be. The battle stage was filled with the afterimages of both of them. The sound of swords and sabers clashing constantly resounded. At the same time, upper-class martial skills that had reached the transformative realm were constantly being displayed by both of them. One of them was a sword cultivator, while the other was a saber cultivator. Both of them walked on different paths, but no matter if it was the way of the saber or the way of the sword, both of them had already reached an extremely terrifying level. This, I counted, from the start of the battle until now, they have already displayed 10 upper-class martial skills that have reached the transformative realm. A Fire Cloud sect disciple who followed Zhao Wuyun said with a face full of shock as he watched the two of them fiercely fighting. In a short span of 100 breaths, the two of them had already fiercely fought over 100 moves. At the same time, both of them had already displayed 10 upper-class martial skills that had reached the transformative realm. It was already rare for an ordinary warrior of the Yellow Realm to be able to cultivate one upper-class martial skill to the transformative realm. But to be able to cultivate 2 upper-class martial skills to the transformative realm was already considered a top genius. Just like Wang Hu, who was once the #1 person in the outer sect of the Eastern Sword Pavilion, he had also cultivated 2 upper-class martial skills to the transformative realm. Hearing the Fire Cloud sect disciples' astonishment, Zhao Wuyun said calmly, "Wuming, actually, the 4 of us, including Xiao Chun, could have already cultivated profound martial skills. But do you know why we haven't cultivated profound martial skills until now?" The disciple who exclaimed was called Zhao Wuming. He was Zhao Wuyun's younger brother. When he heard his brother's words, Zhao Wuming said doubtfully, "I don't know. It's very simple. Our vision is not limited to what's in front of us, but to the peak of martial arts. The foundation is very important to us. Before cultivating profound martial skills, we must have a good foundation. This is also the reason why we haven't cultivated profound martial skills until now." Facing Zhao Wuming's doubt, Zhao Wuyun said indifferently, "Cultivating foundational martial skills was all for the foundation. Moreover, it was not only for now. Even if they started cultivating profound martial skills in the future, Xiao Chun and the other 4 would still cultivate foundational martial skills. Because the more foundational martial skills they grasped, the more helpful it would be for them in the future." Facing Zhao Wuyun's explanation, Zhao Wuming nodded his head as if he understood. And just as the two of them were talking, the battle on the stage had already reached its climax. Sword Qi and Blade Qi collided. Sword Qi and Blade Qi collided. Although until now, Xiao Chun and Chun Ling had not used their trump cards, this kind of battle was already dazzling. To be honest, even inner court disciples would find it hard to erupt with such an intense battle. Not only was their speed fast, every move of the two could be said to be perfect. It was impossible to guard against. As long as there was the slightest mistake, it would be possible to be heavily injured. There was no room for the slightest distraction. And under such an intense battle, the two of them were evenly matched. Looking at Xiao Chun, who was evenly matched with Chen Ling, this scene was even more exciting than when Xiao Chun killed the poisonous dragon prince. Because Chun Ling was a hidden dragon in the entire East Sword Pavilion, not to mention disciples of the same realm, even some inner core disciples would not be Chun Ling's opponent. And all along, the East Sword Pavilion had been troubled by the fact that there was no one in the same realm that could contend against the four hidden dragons. But today, in the same realm, Xiao Chun was able to contend against Chun Ling. In Chun Ling's hands, there was not a trace of weakness. Please collect, recommend, reward. Chapter 45. At the same level, the East Sword Pavilion finally had someone who could contend against the four hidden dragons. Looking at the fierce battle between Xiao Chun and Chun Ling, the East Sword Pavilion side felt their blood boiling, while the Blood Demon Palace's side had ugly expressions. They originally thought that Chun Ling's victory was in the bag, but now it seemed that because of Xiao Chen's appearance, it was too early to say who would win this battle, because Xiao Chun was not afraid of Chun Ling at all. Of course, if Chun Ling did not suppress his cultivation, he might be able to defeat Xiao Chun. However, Chun Ling would not do so because he did not want to use cultivation suppression to win. After a few hundred moves, neither side had the upper hand. In the fierce battle, the two of them retreated at the same time as if they had discussed beforehand, pulling apart the distance between them. Their eyes met and they looked at Xiao Chun. Chun Ling said with a smile, "If this continues, even if we fight for another day and night, I'm afraid it will be difficult to determine the winner. Xiao Chun, let's decide the winner." Up until now, both of them were still holding back. After hearing Chun Ling's suggestion, Xiao Chen's face revealed a smile. Sure, with both of them holding back, it was indeed difficult to determine the winner. Only by using all of their trump cards would it be possible to determine the winner. Hearing Xiao Chen's answer, Chun Ling smiled faintly and nodded. Then, the sword aura around his body suddenly surged. The sword aura that was originally at the small mastery stage actually rose to the great mastery stage. Sword aura at the great mastery stage at the age of 19, this. Sensing that Chun Ling's sword aura had reached the great mastery stage, an inner disciple of the East Sword Pavilion exclaimed in shock. How is this possible? Chun Ling was only 19 years old. How could he cultivate sword aura to the great mastery stage? Even among the inner disciples of the East Sword Pavilion, there were less than 20 people who could cultivate sword aura to the great mastery stage. Such talent could no longer be described as terrifying. After the shock, the people of the East Sword Pavilion looked at Xiao Chun. Their eyes were filled with seriousness and expectation. Blade Chi at the large success stage was not something that could be compared to at the small success stage. Now that Chun Ling had revealed his trump card, how was Xiao Chun going to deal with such a trump card? In other words, had Xiao Chen's sword Qi reached the profound realm? Everyone had expectant looks on their faces. However, on second thought, could Xiao Chen's sword Qi possibly reach the great accomplishment stage? One had to know that Xiao Chen's sword aura was only in the entry stage a year ago. It was almost impossible for him to break through 2 stages consecutively within a year. He was worried that Xiao Chun would not be able to block Chun Ling's blade Qi. However, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the sword Qi around Xiao Chen's body began to rise abruptly, charging towards the realm of greater mastery. I knew that your blade aura wasn't at the initial stage. Fortunately, I made a breakthrough in the past 2 days. Xiao Chun chuckled as her blade aura surged. As soon as she finished her sentence, Xiao Chen's sword Qi also surged to the great accomplishment stage. Sword Qi that had reached the great accomplishment stage. Sensing this, everyone from the East Sword Pavilion sucked in a breath of cold air. The astonishment in their hearts could no longer be described with words. Perhaps this was the difference between a hidden dragon and an ordinary genius. At the age of 19, they had already comprehended the blade qi and sword qi at the great accomplishment stage. Unlike Chun Ling's blade qi, Xiao Qian's sword qi had only broken through in the past 2 days and could only be considered to be at the initial stage. However, even so, Xiao Qian already had the strength to battle. Even though it was inferior to Chun Ling's blade qi, it was still limited. The fifth hidden dragon has really appeared. Regardless of the outcome of this battle, Xiao Qian has already proven his potential. Seeing that both of them had revealed their trump cards on the stage, Zhao Yun's eyes flickered with a faint fighting spirit as he spoke. Along with Zhao Yun's words, both of them moved at the same time. The final battle was about to begin. Without holding back, the great accomplishment blade qi and sword qi fiercely collided. Under the enhancement of the great accomplishment blade qi and sword qi, the power of the high-grade martial skills displayed by both of them was no weaker than a low-grade profound martial skill. The speed of their attacks was faster and the angle of their attacks was more tricky. At this moment, both of them didn't hold back at all. At the same time, Xiao Qian still didn't show any signs of fatigue in front of Chun Ling, seeing that the final victor was about to be decided. Song Xian's face was filled with gratification. He turned to the second hall master of the Blood Demon Hall and said with a smile, "It seems that it won't be easy for your Blood Demon Hall's hidden dragon to suppress my E-Sword Pavilion's hidden dragon today." Song Xian, don't be happy too early. Hearing Song Xian's words, the second hall master of the Blood Demon Hall coldly snorted. To be honest, the second hall master of the Blood Demon Hall was indeed unhappy in his heart. Originally, it should have been an easy battle. However, it had now turned into such a situation. And all of this was because of Xiao Qian's sudden appearance. If it wasn't for Xiao Qian, who in the E-Sword Pavilion would be able to fight against Chun Ling on the same level? Even if a core disciple of the E-Sword Pavilion came and suppressed his cultivation to the same level as Chun Ling, the second hall master of the Blood Demon Hall had absolute confidence that Chun Ling would win. The result had already become complicated and confusing. Before the final result of the battle between hidden dragons was out, no one dared to jump to conclusions. No one spoke again. Everyone was seriously watching the battle on the stage. Under the crowd's attentive gazes, Xiao Qian and Chun Ling had finally reached the final stage of the battle. Blade aura and sword aura revolved around the blade and sword respectively. As the blade and sword clashed, both of them were looking for an opportunity. As long as there was the slightest mistake, it would be very likely for the opponent to seize the opportunity and lose everything. In the fierce battle, Chun Ling finally caught Xiao Qian's small mistake. The long blade in his hand suddenly slashed downwards, aiming directly at Xiao Qian's left shoulder. "Xiao Qian, you're too careless." In that instant, an extremely small opening appeared on Xiao Qian's left shoulder. Such an opening might not be considered an opening in the eyes of others, but in Chun Ling's eyes, it was an opportunity for victory. In the hidden dragon battle, victory and defeat were decided with a single thought. After successfully catching Xiao Qian's opening, Chun Ling did not hold back at all and immediately launched an attack. His target was Xiao Qian's left shoulder. Seeing Chun Ling's blade slashing downwards, the crowd on the viewing platform had different expressions. Could it be that the outcome was already decided? Is it over? An elder of the East Sword Pavilion softly muttered with an unwilling expression. As a heaven-tier expert, he was very clear that now that Chun Ling had caught such an opening, it would be very difficult for Xiao Qian to make a comeback. This was because the difference in strength between the two of them was not that great. Everyone felt that Xiao Qian had already lost. However, at this moment, Xiao Qian, who was fighting against Chun Ling, suddenly revealed a smile on his face. Ignoring Chun Ling's blade, he abruptly stabbed out with the sword in his hand, the tip of the sword pointing directly at Chun Ling's heart. Please collect, recommend, reward. Chapter 46. Everyone thought that Xiao Qian was about to lose, but at this moment, Xiao Qian suddenly stabbed out with his sword, instantly reversing the situation. It was an exquisite sword strike. It was this sword strike that allowed him, who was already in a losing situation, to completely reverse the situation. This, looking at Xiao Chen's sword, the elder of the East Sword Pavilion, who had been sighing unwillingly earlier, suddenly changed his expression. His eyes were filled with disbelief. No one would have thought that Xiao Chen would be able to stab out with his sword in such a situation. Even Song Xian and the other big shots of the older generation were full of praise for Xiao Chen's sword strike. "Chen, it's not that I'm careless, but you're too impatient." Xiao Chen laughed softly as he stabbed out with his sword. The opening in his left shoulder was something that Xiao Chen had purposely done for Chen, and Chen had indeed fallen for it. Now that the two of them had attacked one after the other, the result was not difficult to determine. Chen target was Xiao Chen's left shoulder, while Xiao Chen's target was Chen heart. As such, the final result could only be that Xiao Chen would be seriously injured, while Chen would fall. Exchanging injury for life, the result was already very obvious. Chen was one step behind and lost this match. Both of them stopped at the same time. They were very clear about the final result. The blade was only an inch away from Xiao Chen's shoulder, while the sword was also only an inch away from Chen heart. If the swords in their hands moved forward by even a little bit, it would be enough to hit each other. Maintaining this position, Chen looked bitterly at Xiao Chen, then took the initiative to sheath his sword and shook his head helplessly. "I fell into your trap. It's you who was too impatient." Hearing Chen words, Xiao Chen put away the Qingyun sword and replied with a smile. "Sai, I should have known. How could a person like you reveal any flaws in front of your opponent? I've lost this battle, and I'm sincerely convinced." Chen didn't try to defend himself. A loss was a loss, and this was something that he, Chen, could still accept. Not arrogant in victory, not discouraged in defeat. This was the state of mind that a hidden dragon should have. If he couldn't even accept a defeat, then he didn't deserve the title of hidden dragon. The outcome of the battle had been decided. After that, the two of them walked down from the martial arts stage. Facing such an outcome, the people of the Eastern Sword Pavilion felt as if they were in a dream. Who would have thought that the battle that they were certain to lose would actually be won? In the same realm, Xiao Chen had defeated the Blood Devil Hall's hidden dragon, Chen. This was something that the Eastern Sword Pavilion didn't even dare to imagine. Everyone's gaze towards Xiao Chen had changed. If it was said that there were still people who doubted Xiao Chen's potential as a hidden dragon, then now, Xiao Chen had undoubtedly used this victory to prove his identity as a hidden dragon. To be able to defeat Chen in the same realm, even though it was a narrow victory, it still couldn't cover Xiao Chen's brilliance. If Xiao Chen wasn't worthy of being a hidden dragon, then who else was? He walked slowly towards Song Xian, bowed to him, and said with a smile, "Master, fortunately, I didn't disappoint you." Hearing these words, Song Xian looked at Xiao Chen with incomparable gratification and nodded repeatedly. "Good, very good." Song Xian didn't know how to express his feelings anymore and could only nod repeatedly. The Eastern Sword Pavilion had obtained victory in the first battle, which was extremely advantageous for the next two battles. Compared to the Eastern Sword Pavilion's side, the remaining two disciples of the Blood Devil Hall were under immense pressure because as long as they lost another battle, it would mean that they had failed in this battle for the Spirit Vein. The second battle was between Qi Yin and an inner disciple of the Blood Devil Hall. Both of their cultivations were at the Mystic Ian Perfect stage. As soon as the battle began, both of them were evenly matched. On the Blood Devil Hall side, there was also a female disciple named Hong Ting. Moreover, she seemed to be very familiar with Qi Yin. Of course, there wasn't much difference in their ages, and they had always been competitors, so they were extremely familiar with each other. Is there a need to work so hard? Even if you defeat me, you still have no chance of winning the next battle. This time, it's my senior brother who's taking part. As for your Blood Devil Hall side, Blood Hand isn't here. In the midst of the fierce battle, Qi Yin sneered. The Blood Hand that Qi Yin mentioned was the #1 core disciple of the Blood Devil Hall. Since Blood Hand wasn't here today, the core disciple representing the Blood Devil Hall obviously wouldn't be a match for Qin Heng, because Qin Heng's strength was comparable to Blood Hand. Hearing Qi Yan's words, Hong Ting's face turned ugly. Bitch, stop talking nonsense. I don't care about the others. I just want to win against you, slutty fox. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Hearing Hong Ting's words, Qi Yan was instantly enraged, and the battle between the two became even more intense. As the saying goes, if there was a grudge between women, it wouldn't be any weaker than a man's. Just like Qi Yan and Hong Ting right now, both of them seemed to be fighting to the death as if they had a vendetta against each other. An intense battle broke out, and in the end, both women suffered heavy injuries. It could be seen that the strength of the two women was very close, and it was basically impossible to determine the winner. Moreover, their battle was not like Xiao Chun and Chun Ling, who were completely fighting to the death. Crazy women were the most terrifying. Xiao Chun had long experienced this. Looking at Qi Yan and Hong Ting on the stage, Xiao Chun said with a bitter smile, "Master, why don't we consider it a draw? If this continues, there will definitely be no result." He suggested to Song Xian to stop the battle. If this continued, the two women would be crippled even if they didn't die. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Song Xian looked at the Blood Devil Hall's second hall master. Seeing this, the second hall master exhorted for a moment before nodding gloomily. Although Qi Yan and Hong Ting didn't have the talent of a hidden dragon, they were still rare top geniuses. Neither the Blood Devil Hall nor the East Sword Pavilion could afford to lose them. Therefore, unless there was no other choice, Song Xian and the second hall master naturally couldn't watch the two women die here. After reaching a consensus, Song Xian and the second hall master took action at the same time and forcefully separated the two women who had already gone crazy. Although they were stopped by their respective masters, the two women still had no intention of stopping. No one was at a disadvantage, and they opened their mouths to curse at each other. "Bitch, come again if you dare. Come on, you slutty fox. Do you think I'm afraid of you?" They had almost lost their minds. Looking at the two women's appearance, Xiao Chun and Chun Ling smiled helplessly. Among them, Xiao Chun didn't know about the conflict between Qi Yan and Hong Ting, but Chun Ling was very clear about it. The two women entered the Blood Devil Hall and the East Sword Pavilion in the same year. Moreover, it was said that their families were in the same city. It could be said that the two women were competitors since young. No matter if it was for their families or for themselves, as long as the two women met, they would definitely fight to the death. In Chun Ling's opinion, after fighting for so many years, perhaps even the two women didn't know why they were fighting. It had almost become an instinct. Please collect, recommend, reward. Chapter 47. The two girls were forcefully pulled apart, and the result of this battle was naturally a draw. After the two battles, the East Sword Pavilion had one win and one draw. In the third battle, as long as Qin Heng could maintain a draw, it would be enough for the East Sword Pavilion to obtain the ownership of the spiritual vein. As for the Blood Demon Palace, they had to win. In the third battle, Qin Heng fought against a core disciple of the Blood Demon Palace. Without any suspense, Qin Heng won. Among the core disciples of the Blood Demon Palace, the only one who could fight against Qin Heng was Blood Hands. However, Blood Hands did not come today, so Qin Heng naturally had no problem winning. 2 wins and 1 draw. In the end, the East Sword Pavilion won the newly discovered spiritual vein in the Sword Demon Mountain Range. Song Xian was naturally happy about this. On the other hand, the second hall master of the Blood Demon Palace was gloomy and did not say a word. He even glanced at Xiao Chun from time to time. Without a doubt, everything that happened today was because of Xiao Chun. If not for him, the Blood Demon Palace could at least maintain a draw. After the 3 battles, the East Sword Pavilion would naturally send someone to take over the spiritual vein and prepare to mine it. Of course, these things had nothing to do with Xiao Chun. At this moment, Chun Ling, Zhao Wuyun, and Lin Xing came before Xiao Chun one after another. After witnessing the battle between Xiao Chun and Chun Ling, Zhao Wuyun and Lin Xing completely regarded Xiao Chun as a hidden dragon. Although their tone was still impolite, they did not look down on him. one of the 5 hidden dragons, Xiao Chun. Congratulations. Chun Ling looked at Xiao Chun and said first. If there is a chance, I will definitely fight with you, Zhao Wuyin said. Don't worry, there will be a chance soon. The 100 Spirits Graveyard is about to open. This will be our last battle in the Yellow Realm. When the time comes, you can fight however you want, Lin Xing said. The 100 Spirits Graveyard. This was the first time Xiao Chun had heard of it. Seeing that Xiao Chun did not know about it, Chun Ling explained patiently. The 100 Spirits Graveyard could be said to be a treasure trove in the Eastern Sun region. It was said that in ancient times, this was the place where an ancient almighty had fallen. Due to the fall of the ancient almighty, the 100 Spirits Graveyard contained an extremely pure spiritual energy. Furthermore, after many years of exploration by the 5 great leaders, they were able to confirm that the spiritual energy in the 100 Spirits Graveyard was of great help to a cultivator's breakthrough to the mystic Yuan realm. At the same time, more importantly, there was a special existence in the 100 Spirits Graveyard, known as the Mystic Spirit. If one possessed enough mystic spirits, a cultivator's mystic body would be greatly strengthened when breaking through to the mystic Yuan realm. Unlike the breakthroughs of small realms, the breakthrough of each major realm had a qualitative improvement. For example, when the foundation building realm broke through to the channel opening realm, the meridians in the body would transform into spiritual meridians. When the channel opening realm broke through to the yellow realm, the blood would be nourished by the spiritual power and become spiritual blood. Simply put, when the foundation building realm broke through to the channel opening realm, it was the transformation of the meridians. When the channel opening realm broke through to the yellow realm, it was the transformation of the blood. When the yellow realm broke through to the mystic Yuan realm, it was the transformation of the physical body. It was precisely this transformation that allowed a mystic Yuan realm cultivator to be much stronger than a yellow realm cultivator. This was also why the 5 great hidden dragons were able to kill a mystic Yuan realm cultivator despite the difference in realms. Under normal circumstances, a mystic Yuan realm cultivator would only need to use the strength of his physical body to crush a yellow realm cultivator. This showed how big the gap between the two was. Of course, the Xinyuan martial body was also divided into strong and weak ones. During the process of transformation, it depended on how much spirit energy one's body could withstand. Under normal circumstances, a spirit energy vortex of 10 miles would be enough to transform into a Xinyuan martial body. However, some geniuses could reach 20 or even 30 miles. The larger the spirit energy vortex, the stronger the Xinyuan martial body that could be achieved. He told Xiao Chun about the 100 Spirits Graveyard in detail. According to Chun Ling, the 100 Spirits Graveyard would begin in half a year. At that time, the elite disciples of the 5 great hidden dragons would enter. Naturally, the 5 great hidden dragons would be the leaders. It was not an exaggeration to say that Chun Ling and the other 3 could have broken through to the mystic Yuan realm long ago. The reason why they had not broken through was because of the 100 Spirits Graveyard. The strength of the Xinyuan martial body was extremely important to any warrior. The Xinyuan spirits in the 100 Spirits Graveyard were what Chun Ling and the others needed the most. After the 100 Spirits Graveyard ended, Chun Ling and the others would definitely break through to the mystic Yuan realm. From then on, the 5 great hidden dragons of the Danyang region would enter the inner gate from the outer gate. Xiao Chun, see you in the 100 Spirits Graveyard. This might be our last confrontation in the Yellow Realm. I don't want to enter the inner gate with regrets. Before leaving, Zhao Wuyin smiled at Xiao Chun. Me too. Let's use the 100 Spirits Graveyard to put an end to our conflict in the outer gate. Lin Xing smiled. Let's go, Xiao Chun. Work hard in your training. After the 100 Spirits Graveyard ends, we will definitely enter the inner gate as soon as possible. At that time, if you still can't enter the inner gate of the East Sword Pavilion, the inner gate of the East Sword Pavilion will be in trouble again. Chun Ling said. After chatting casually for a while, everyone left one after another. However, before leaving, everyone agreed that they would fight in the 100 Spirits graveyard in half a year to put a perfect end to their time in the outer gate. After watching everyone leave, soon, only the people from the East Sword Pavilion were left on the mountain peak. At this moment, Song Xian walked slowly to Xiao Chen's side and said, "The 100 Spirits graveyard is indeed a treasure land. If you can break through there, your Xianyuan martial body will be at least 30% stronger than normal." Even Song Xian was full of praise for the 100 Spirits graveyard. In his heart, Xiao Chun had already decided that he would definitely go to the 100 Spirits graveyard in half a year. However, before that, he still needed to increase his cultivation to the completion of the Yellow Realm. The ownership of the spiritual pulse had been settled. After leaving behind 2 elders, some deacons, and a large number of servants, Xiao Chun and his group left on the green-feathered eagle. Along the way, Xiao Chun did not feel the slightest bit of pride because he had defeated Chen-Ling. On the contrary, Xiao Chen's gaze was now on the 100 Spirits graveyard in half a year. This was because it was a great opportunity to break through to the Xianyuan realm. Moreover, in the competition between the hidden dragons, if he was a little slower, there would be a huge gap between them. Xiao Chun did not want to be completely defeated by Chen-Ling and his group. They returned to the East Sword Pavilion safely. At the same time, in the Sword Demon Mountain, the battle between Xiao Chun and Chen-Ling spread quickly. When they found out that the final result was Xiao Chen's victory, the people of the Danyang region were shocked. It seemed that the East Sword Pavilion had really produced a hidden dragon. In this way, the Danyang region would no longer be the world of the 4 hidden dragons, but the 5 hidden dragons. The East Sword Pavilion, which was originally thought to be kicked out of the competition, finally had its own hidden dragon. In this way, the competition in the Danyang region would become more and more intense in the future. Please collect, recommend, reward. Chapter 48. With the emergence of Xiao Chun, the Danyang region went from the era of the 4 hidden dragons to the era of the 5 hidden dragons. However, people only thought that the competition among the 5 hidden dragons would become more and more intense in the future. They did not know that the emergence of the 5 hidden dragons meant more than that. On a deeper level, the emergence of the 5 hidden dragons represented the arrival of a golden age. This was because not only the Danyang region, but other hidden dragons had also emerged in other regions of the Tianqian continent. For a time, the entire Tianqian continent could be said to be filled with geniuses. The curtain of a golden age was gradually being pulled open. The real big shots, standing at the top of the Tianqian continent, had a premonition of the arrival of a golden age. In just a dozen years, various geniuses and geniuses emerged one after another. The competition among the younger generation was gradually developing to a white-hot stage. Of course, the arrival of a golden age was too far away for ordinary people. At this time, the people of the Danyang region only cared about the things in front of them. After returning to the East Sword Pavilion, Xiao Chun began to cultivate again. He wanted to improve his cultivation and martial skills. Song Xian had given Xiao Chun a goal of 100 upper-grade martial skills, and Xiao Chen's own goal was to cultivate these 100 upper-grade martial skills to the perfection of martial skills. Think about it. If a person could cultivate 100 upper-grade martial skills to the perfection of martial skills, then how solid would his foundation be? Xiao Chun did not pay attention to the outside world. At the same time, while Xiao Chun was concentrating on his cultivation, Demon Sword Xiao Chen's reputation in the Danyang region was growing. He was not inferior to Chen-Ling and the other 3. Yes, after the battle in the Sword Demon Mountain range, Xiao Chun was given the title of Demon Sword by the people of the world. He was regarded as the Demon Sword. Heavenly Blade Chen-Ling, Viper Mu Qing, Dominating Spear Lin Xing, Heavenly Flame Zhao Wuyun, and now Demon Sword Xiao Chun was added. The 5 dragons' hegemony indicated that the era of the 5 dragons' hegemony had arrived. Xiao Chun, you are now the soul of our East Sword Pavilion. You don't know, but not only the outer disciples, even the inner disciples and core disciples are paying attention to you at all times. Moreover, do you know what the people outside call you? Demon Sword, demons sword Xiao Chun. In the dustless residence, Xiao Chun, Mo Jia, and the others sat together and chatted. Mo Jia also told Xiao Chun about the happenings in the outside world, but it was mostly about Xiao Chun. The monster sword. Xiao Chun smiled bitterly when he heard the title. The monster sword was really a big label. He was only 19 years old, and his cultivation was only at the completion of the Yellow Realm. It was really stressful for him to be called the monster sword. He felt a little helpless, but he couldn't do anything about it. He couldn't influence other people's thoughts, so he didn't dwell on it and just let them be. His days were peaceful and fulfilling. He spent every day in cultivation. When he was free, he would drink with Mo Jia and the others and chat. Unknowingly, 10 days had passed. While Xiao Chun was concentrating on his cultivation, Chun Muxue took the initiative to look for Wang Wan, who had returned with Mu Qing to the 10,000 Immortals Tower a few days ago. She asked him when he was going to Lingfeng country. Wang Wan didn't reject Chun Muxue's request and said that he would leave after some preparation. Last time, because of Xiao Chen's appearance, Chun Muxue not only failed, but also almost caused the Chun family to fall into an irrecoverable situation. If she hadn't been chosen by the elders of the 10,000 Immortals Tower, the Chun family would have been finished. The hatred in her heart never subsided. Chun Muxue swore that she wouldn't let the Xiao family have an easy time. If the Zhu Mountain sect couldn't do it, then what about the 10,000 Immortals Tower? If Wang Wen went this time, even if the Xiao family had Xiao Chun, what could they do? Did Xiao Chun really dare to offend Wang Wen? Did he dare to offend Mu Qing, who was behind Wang Wen? Chun Muxue was looking forward to the destruction of the Xiao family. Of course, during this period, Chun Muxue also asked about the hidden dragon of the East Sword Pavilion. From the beginning to the end, Chun Muxue only thought that the hidden dragon of the East Sword Pavilion, Xiao Chun, was someone with the same name and surname. It was impossible for him to be Xiao Chun of the Xiao family. Among the outstanding talents of the current era, senior brother Mu Qing is comparable to him. In response to Chun Muxue's question, Wang Wen gave such an evaluation. Chun Muxue was also shocked by this. To be able to be on par with senior brother Mu Qing, it was enough to show how extraordinary this hidden dragon of the Eastern Sword Pavilion was. He didn't know that Chun Muxue, who had revived from the ashes, had once again launched her plan to destroy the Xiao family. At this time, Xiao Chun was still cultivating in the East Sword Pavilion. After a day of cultivation, it was nighttime. When Xiao Chun was sitting cross-legged to cultivate, Qin Shuru came to the dustless residence alone. Xiao Chun felt that Qin Shuru's arrival was strange, but he didn't ask much. He led him into the courtyard and asked with a smile, "What's the matter? Why are you looking for me, alone, so late at night?" All along, Qin Shuru had come with Mo Jia and the others. This was the first time that Qin Shuru had come alone to look for him. Moreover, it was at night. Faced with Xiao Chen's inquiry, Qin Shuru's face flushed red. His expression was obviously a little shy. Unfortunately, Xiao Chun didn't notice it at all. Xiao Chun had monstrous wisdom when it came to other matters. However, when it came to women's hearts, Xiao Chun was completely clueless. Since he was young, although many women had expressed interest in him, Xiao Chun had always yearned for martial arts. Therefore, when it came to relationships, Xiao Chun could be said to be a blank piece of paper. Not noticing Qin Shuru's strange behavior, Qin Shuru replied nervously to Xiao Chen's inquiry. "This is the tiger bone soup I stewed. You've been cultivating hard these past 2 days, so I specially brought it over to nourish your body." Xiao Chun lowered his head, not daring to look Xiao Chun in the eye. Upon hearing this, Xiao Chun laughed heartily and drank it without hesitation. He had to admit that Qin Shuero's culinary skills were indeed not bad. The soup was made from the bones of the second-grade demonic beast, Fierce Tiger. It was delicious. He raised his head and drank the entire bowl of tiger bone soup. "Phew, it's delicious. Thank you so much, Shuru." Xiao Chen took a deep breath and thanked Qin Shuru with a smile. "No, you're welcome." Qin Shuru's face turned even redder in the face of Xiao Chen's gratitude. He lowered his head and replied, while rubbing the corners of his clothes with both hands. After the tiger bone soup entered his stomach, Xiao Chun felt dizzy and realized that something was wrong with his body. At first, Xiao Chun tried to use his spiritual energy to neutralize it, but he realized that it was useless. Looking at the empty bowl on the table, Xiao Chun quickly realized that it was this bowl of soup. He looked at Qin Shiru and said with a complicated expression, There is no doubt that Qin Shiru had drugged this bowl of soup. Xiao Chun wanted to ask Qin Shiru why he did this, but as soon as he said the word "you," he felt his vision turn black. Then he completely lost consciousness and fell to the ground. Please collect, recommend, reward. Chapter 49. She fell into a coma. From the beginning to the end, Xiao Chun could not believe that Qin Shiru would drug her. It was also because she had absolute trust in Qin Shiru that Xiao Chun did not have the slightest precaution. Looking at the unconscious Xiao Chun, Qin Shiru sat on the stone bench in a daze. After a while, he gritted his teeth and carried the unconscious Xiao Chun into the room. That night, Qin Shiru gave his first time to Xiao Chun, but poor Xiao Chun knew nothing about it. Until the next morning, Xiao Chun woke up from her coma and found herself sleeping on the bed without any clothes on. She looked around and found that Qin Shiru was not in the room. She had a bad feeling, but what surprised Xiao Chun even more was that after a night of spring breeze, her cultivation had broken through to the completion of the Yellow Realm. She broke through in one night. Surprised, she got up and washed up. The first thought that came to Xiao Chun's mind was that Qin Shiru had drugged her. Last night, Qin Shiru drugged her, and then she broke through in one night. All of this must have something to do with Qin Shiru. She hurriedly washed up and walked out of the room. But just as Xiao Chun walked out of the Wuchen residence, Qin Heng was waiting for her. Senior brother? Xiao Chun looked at Qin Heng in confusion. He was waiting here so early in the morning. Did you break through? That little girl really did it. Hearing Xiao Chun's voice, Qin Heng changed his usual cheeky smile and said with a hint of worry between his eyebrows. It was very strange. Qin Heng was a little strange today, and it seemed that he already knew something. Xiao Chun was full of doubts. She stepped in front of Qin Heng and asked seriously, Senior brother, do you know something? I know a little. Let's go, I'll tell you as we walk. Hearing Xiao Chun's words, Qin Heng replied. Following Qin Heng, the two of them left. Along the way, Qin Heng did tell Xiao Chun what he knew. The reason why Xiao Chun could break through was indeed because of Qin Shiru. Qin Shiru gave his first time to Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun, Shiru, is born with the Yin spirit body. As a special constitution, Shiru's talent is not inferior to the 5 hidden dragons. However, due to the uniqueness of the Yin spirit body, it can only be activated after a man and a woman intercourse. Of course, once a man and a woman intercourse, Shiru's Yin spirit body will be activated. At the same time, the man who has sex with her will also receive great benefits. He told Xiao Chun everything he knew, including Qin Shiru and Mu Qing's engagement. The reason why Qin Shiru gave his first time to Xiao Chun was because he didn't want Mu Qing to take advantage of him. Because of the Yin spirit body, only the first time would benefit both parties. As he couldn't disobey the family's orders, Qin Shiru had to leave. Before he left, Qin Shiru gave his first time to Xiao Chun. After hearing Qin Shiru's words, Xiao Chun went silent. She already knew that Qin Shiru and Qin Heng were biological siblings, but her heart was in a mess. This was the first time since she was young. Xiao Chun was a little flustered. Relationships between men and women were indeed not Xiao Chun's strong suit. Sensing Xiao Chun's change, Qin Heng comforted him. Shiru is willing to do all of this. Junior brother, no one will blame you. Xiao Chun wanted to persuade Xiao Chun not to go down a dead end, but after hearing Qin Heng's words, she took a deep breath and said, Has Shiru returned to the Qin family? Yes, she has left. Qin Heng nodded. After hearing Qin Shiru's words, Xiao Chun went silent for a moment. Then, her expression changed. Her eyes became incomparably firm. She looked straight into Qin Heng's eyes and said seriously, Senior brother, I will not let Shiru marry Murin. Xiao Chun had never come into contact with relationships, but she was a person who dared to love and hate. Just now, she asked herself if she had feelings for Qin Shiru. The answer was that perhaps she didn't. But after taking away Qin Shiru's first time, Xiao Chun had to admit that Qin Shiru had entered her heart. Since that was the case, then Xiao Chun naturally wouldn't watch as Shiru married another man. Moreover, from Qin Heng's words, Xiao Chun also knew that Qin Shiru didn't like Murin. Qin Heng had already made up his mind. Regarding this, Qin Heng fell into silence. After a long while, he slowly said, "Things aren't as simple as you think. It will be difficult to stop this because Murin's identity is not only the hidden dragon of the 10,000 Immortals Tower, but more importantly, Murin is the abandoned son of the Mu family. Qin Heng and Qin Shiru's Qin family was considered a big family in the Eastern Sun region. However, in Murin's eyes, the Qin family was nothing because the Mu family was one of the 3 big families in the entire heavenly Qin continent. Even the Eastern Sword Pavilion couldn't be compared to them. As the abandoned son of the Mu family, according to what Qin Heng knew, Murin was the son of the current head of the Mu family and a maid. Because of her lowly birth and the deliberate targeting of the head of the Mu family, Murin was kicked out of the Mu family at a young age and sent to the Eastern Sun region. However, although Murin was abandoned by the Mu family, no matter what, the blood of the Mu family flowed in Murin's body. Therefore, if Xiao Chun wanted to stop this matter, he would inevitably offend the Mu family. And the consequences of offending the Mu family were unimaginable. At the very least, the Eastern Sword Pavilion wouldn't be able to protect Xiao Chun. If the Mu family punished him, even the Eastern Sword Pavilion wouldn't be able to escape. After telling Xiao Chun the truth about Murin's past, Qin Heng sighed and said, "Junior, listen to my advice. There are some things that you and I can't change." Qin Heng didn't agree with Xiao Chun getting involved in this matter. Hearing this, Xiao Chun didn't reply. His first woman, was he going to give up just like that? Was that even possible? As though he had seen through Xiao Chun's thoughts, Qin Heng spoke again before he left. "Junior, Shuru's wedding is set for half a year later, which is after the 100 Spirits Graveyard. If you really want to do something for Shuru, you should work hard to prepare for the 100 Spirits Graveyard. You have to know that strength is the most important. Without strength, everything is just empty talk." He knew that although Xiao Chun seemed approachable, he was extremely stubborn. Once Xiao Chun decided on something, it would be difficult to change his mind. As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Heng left, leaving Xiao Chun standing there alone. It took him a while to come back to his senses. He looked at the sky calmly and muttered to himself, "The Mu family? So what? How can my woman marry another man? Shuru, wait for me. After the 100 Spirits Graveyard is over, I will personally go to the Qin family to pick you up." Previously, Xiao Chun knew that Qin Shiru had feelings for her, but she had never thought about it. Now that this matter had happened, she knew that she couldn't ignore Qin Shiru's love for her anymore. Please add, recommend, reward. Chapter 50. All of a sudden, a woman had walked into his heart. As he recalled the bits and pieces of his time with Qin Shiru, Xiao Chun experienced what love was for the first time. The memories of the two of them were all small and ordinary things. There were no vows of undying love. Even until now, Xiao Chun and Qin Shiru had never personally confessed their love for each other. Strictly speaking, the two of them had yet to officially confirm their relationship. However, now that he thought about it, it turned out that Qin Shiru had always been by his side so gently. She had always been so gentle and quiet. Qin Shiru knew that he was wholeheartedly focused on martial arts and did not have the time to think about relationships. He had always endured it and never gave himself any pressure. Perhaps in Qin Shiru's heart, he was already satisfied with just being by Xiao Chen's side as a friend. He went to the courtyard where Qin Shuero stayed in the second outer courtyard. The place was already empty. He walked around for a while before sitting down on a stone bench in the middle of the courtyard. "It's been 3 years, so the beauty has always been by my side." He had to admit that he could no longer forget Qin Shiru. For the past 3 years, Qin Shiru had always been by his side quietly and gently. This was the first time he cared about a woman. Since that was the case, he couldn't let her leave him, and he definitely couldn't let other men take her away from him. Xiao Qin's plan was very simple. Half a year later, he would go to the Qin family and tell Qin Shuoro what he hadn't said in the past 3 years. He would tell her loudly that she, Qin Shuoro, was his woman from now on. Xiao Qian stayed in Astral, too, for an entire day until dusk before returning to the dustless residence. Half a year. Just as Qin Hung had said, everything in this world depended on strength. Therefore, the most important thing now was the 100 Spirits Graveyard. Only by breaking through to the mystic Ian realm in the 100 Spirits Graveyard would he have the ability to protect the things he wanted to protect. Xiao Qian buried Qin Shuru's matter deep in his heart. He firmly believed that it would not be long before the two of them reunited. He would work hard to become stronger and protect this gentle and lovely woman for the rest of his life. She continued to cultivate. She originally thought that she would be able to have a period of peace in the following days. Unfortunately, things didn't go as she wished. On the third day after Qin Shuro left, Emo Jie came to the dustless residence anxiously and shouted the moment he entered. Bad news, Xiao Chun. The Xiao family. The Xiao family is in trouble. Emo Jie was anxious. When Xiao Chun heard that the Xiao family had appeared, he hurried over and asked, "What happened?" Chun Mushue brought Wang Wan and several attendants of the 10,000 Immortals Tower to Lingshan Prefecture City. The prefecture king of Lingshan Prefecture, Zhang Chong, has been killed by them, and the people of the Xiao family have been captured. Emo Jie had just received the news and told Xiao Chen the truth. After hearing Emo Jie's words, a strong murderous intent emerged in Xiao Chen's eyes. It was Chen Mushue again. He had already let the Chun family off once, but now she was here again. From Emo Jie's words, Xiao Chen knew that the situation was urgent. Even the prefecture king, Zhang Chong, had been killed. Moreover, this time, Chun Mushue had the support of the 10,000 Immortals Tower, so she would definitely be more unscrupulous. Emo Jie also said that the martial king of Lingfeng country helped her. Now that the prefecture king of Lingshan Prefecture had changed hands, the Xiao family had lost all protection. Without saying a word, Xiao Chun went directly to Song Xian's residence. Seeing Xiao Chun rushing over with a murderous look, Song Xian asked curiously, "What's wrong?" "Master, the family is in trouble. I need the help of the Sword Pavilion." Without wasting any time, Xiao Chun directly told Song Xian the whole story without any formalities. After hearing that Xiao Chen's family was in trouble and that it was the disciples of the 10,000 Immortals Tower, Song Xian asked, "What do you want to do?" "I want 10 elders to return to Lingfeng country with me," Xiao Chen said. Chen Mushue must have come prepared this time. Although he was already one of the 5 hidden dragons, he had not yet grown up. If he wanted to completely solve this matter, he could only rely on the power of the East Sword Pavilion. After all, it would take time to transform one's talent into strength. 10 elders needed to return to Lingfeng country. After hearing Xiao Chen's request, Song Xian replied without any hesitation, "I will ask the outer sect elders who have nothing to do to return with you. I will also ask your senior brother, Qin Hung, to go with you." As the hidden dragon of the East Sword Pavilion, Xiao Chen's importance to the East Sword Pavilion was self-evident. Therefore, Song Xian naturally would not reject such a small request. If it weren't for the fact that he had something to do these few days, Song Xian would have personally made a trip to Lingfeng country. Soon, under Song Xian's summons, all the outer sect elders who did not have any missions gathered together. There were a total of 18 people. At the same time, Qin Hung and another core disciple called Zhou Qi also set off together. There were a total of 20 people. 18 of them were Sword Pavilion elders whose cultivation had reached the heavenly human stage, and 2 core disciples whose cultivation had reached the earth mirror stage. When everyone was ready to set off, Emo Jie could not help but be shocked when he saw the lineup. He was even more amazed in his heart. As expected of a hidden dragon, a casual sentence from him was enough to get the Sword Pavilion to mobilize such a powerful lineup. To be honest, even an elder-level figure would not be able to get the Sword Pavilion to mobilize such a powerful lineup. It could be said to be a luxurious lineup. With such a lineup, it was enough to sweep through the entire Eastern Sun region, except for the other 4 giants who were equally famous as the East Sword Pavilion. There were a total of 5 green feathered eagles. Without any delay, the group quickly rushed to Lingfeng country. Xiao Qin did not say a word along the way, but the strong murderous intent in his eyes showed that Xiao Qin really wanted to kill someone. This time, the Qin family would not be as lucky as before. They could let them go once, but there would definitely not be a second time. While Xiao Qin and the rest were rushing to Lingfeng country, everyone in the Xiao family in Lingshan County City had been tied up and brought to the main square in the city center. Chen Muxue stood in front of Xiao Qing and by Ru Yue with a cold smile on her face. She looked down at them and said coldly, "I have said that I will make the Xiao family pay the price in this life." Chen Muxue, you lunatic. Chen has already let your Chen family off once. Xiao Qing said coldly when he heard Chen Muxue's words. Haha, Xiao Chen, do you think it will be the same as last time? I know that Xiao Chen is a disciple of the East Sword Pavilion, but so what? The Myriad Immortal Tower is not afraid of the East Sword Pavilion. So what if Xiao Chen is here this time? I will spare your lives and wait for Xiao Chen to come. Then I will kill everyone in the Xiao family in front of him. Chen Muxue burst into laughter. Please collect, recommend, reward. Chapter 51. He didn't know how Chen Muxue had joined the Myriad Immortal Tower. Hearing this, Xiao Qing was furious, but there was nothing he could do. Chen Muxue had already joined the Myriad Immortal Tower. In this time, she had brought several attendants of the Myriad Immortal Tower. Although they were only attendants, their cultivation had already reached the Earth Mirror Realm. Such a cultivation was enough to become an elder in the Ju Mountain sect. Everything had changed too quickly. It was undeniable that Chen Muxue had also encountered her own opportunity. At the same time, the Ju Mountain sect master and the elders naturally stood on Chen Muxue's side. What a joke! They knew that Xiao Chen was a disciple of the Eastern Sword Pavilion, but compared to Chen Muxue, they didn't think that Xiao Chen had any chance of winning. This was because the person who had followed Chen Muxue this time was Wang Wen. Who was Wang Wen? He was the favorite of Viper Mu Qing. Offending him was the same as offending Mu Qing. Even if the Ju Mountain sect was given 100 guts, they wouldn't dare to offend a hidden dragon. Chen Muxue, you can kill me, but the rest of the Xiao clan has no enmity with you. Let them go, and I'll let you do whatever you want with me. Even Xiao Qing was in despair as he looked at Chen Muxue. He wanted to use his life to exchange for the lives of the rest of the Xiao clan. Hearing this, Chen Muxue sneered. Xiao Qing, do you think that's possible? Chen Muxue didn't intend to let anyone of the Xiao clan go. Hearing this, everyone in the Xiao clan fell into despair. Their gazes were filled with hatred and fear as they looked at Chen Muxue and Wang Wen. All along, Chen Muxue had the appearance of a vile person intoxicated with success. As for Wang Wen, he was incomparably indifferent. It was as if the hundreds of lives of the Xiao clan were not worth mentioning in his eyes. It was really over. Last time it was only the Ju Mountain sect, but this time it was the Myriad Immortal Tower and Wang Wen. Even if Xiao Chen came, what could he do? In his heart, Xiao Qing was even praying that Xiao Chen wouldn't come because he would be courting death if he came. It seemed like there was no hope left. At the same time, Xiao Chen and his group, who had not stopped along the way, could see Lingshan Commandery City from afar. At this time, the sky had already begun to brighten, and a ray of light shone on the earth from the east. Sitting on the back of the green-feathered eagle, Xiao Chen could see the hundreds of people from the Xiao clan kneeling on the main square in the center of the Lingshan Commandery City. Surrounding them were the disciples and elders of the Ju Mountain sect. In the center was Chen Muxue and Wang Wen, who was surrounded by the sect master of the Ju Mountain sect and the new Lingshan Commandery Prince. When he saw his parents, who were tied up and kneeling on the ground, The murderous intent in Xiao Chen's eyes exploded. Before they reached the Lingshan commandery city, Xiao Chen said coldly, "Today, I will wash the Lingshan commandery city with blood. None of the people involved in this matter will be spared. Elders, please help me." Today, Xiao Chen was going to wash the Lingshan commandery city with blood. He had let the Chun clan and the Ma clan off last time, but it seemed that he was too kind. Since that was the case, he could only use blood to tell everyone that from now on, anyone who dared to provoke the Xiao clan would have to be prepared to pay a painful price. As soon as Xiao Chen finished speaking, the 18 elders of the East Sword Pavilion nodded slightly. Then, they jumped up at the same time and rushed into the Lingshan commandery city in a few leaps. Although heavenly human stage experts could not fly in the air, they could still jump in the air for a short period of time at an extremely fast speed. The 18 elders rushed into the Lingshan commandery city first, because Tsang Xian had already said that they would listen to Xiao Chen's command. Therefore, after hearing Xiao Chen's command, the 18 elders did not hesitate and rushed into the Lingshan commandery city and started a bloody massacre. Starting from the city gate, clouds of blood mist exploded. These people were the guards of the Lingshan commandery city. Everywhere they passed, blood flowed like a river. Facing the 18 experts who suddenly appeared, the people of the Lingshan commandery city were completely stunned. Who were these people? They started a massacre as soon as they entered the city. Moreover, from the looks of it, they couldn't wait to slaughter the entire Lingshan commandery city. A wave of extreme fear quickly spread. However, as time passed, the people realized that these people only killed those who were involved in the Xiao family's matter and did not kill the ordinary people. Realizing this, the people's hearts became lively again. It seemed that things weren't that simple. The Chen family had made a comeback, and the Xiao family was once again in danger. This news had long spread in the Lingshan commandery city and was no longer a secret. At this time, the 18 mysterious experts seemed to have come for the Xiao family. They started a massacre at the city gate. The 18 heavenly human stage experts looked down on everyone, and no one could stop them. Soon, the news reached Wang Wen's ears. Wang Wen's face darkened when he heard that there were experts who barged into the Lingshan commandery city. "Ah, there are still people who dare to mess with us. Deacons, I'll have to trouble you to take action." He brought a total of 6 deacons from the myriad immortal tower. Wang Wen's attitude towards these 6 deacons was still relatively polite because he knew very well that these 6 deacons obeyed his orders completely out of respect for Mu Qing. Otherwise, how could a mere outer court disciple like him command these deacons? Hearing Wang Wen's words, the deacon in the lead nodded indifferently. Then, the 6 of them rushed out of the square at the same time. They didn't think that these people were experts. With the 6 deacons around, they should be able to stop them. Looking at the backs of the 6 people, Wang Wen's face regained its calmness. Perhaps in his opinion, there was no existence that could threaten him in this small Lingfeng country. Even the true dragon of the Xiao family, Xiao Chun, was just an ordinary disciple of the East Sword Pavilion. What could the East Sword Pavilion do if they annihilated his entire family? They couldn't possibly fight to the death with the myriad immortal tower for an ordinary disciple. The 6 deacons of the myriad immortal tower hurriedly flew out and soon met the group of elders of the Eastern Sword Pavilion. From afar, the 6 of them could feel the unique aura of a heaven stage expert. Suddenly, the 6 of them had a drastic change in expression as they involuntarily cried out in alarm. "Heaven Realm experts, how is this possible? Oh my God, a total of 18 Heaven Realm experts. How is this possible? It's the East Sword Pavilion. They're the elders of the East Sword Pavilion, and there are a total of 18 of them." "What did you say? 18 elders of the East Sword Pavilion? Why? Why would all the elders of the East Sword Pavilion appear here?" It was precisely because of this that the 6 deacons of the myriad immortal tower were so flustered. One must know that the number of elders in the East Sword Pavilion was not many. The total number of elders in the East Sword Pavilion would not exceed 100. But now a total of 18 of them had appeared in Lingshan County City. What was going on? Could it be that the East Sword Pavilion had gone mad? Please collect, recommend, reward. Chapter 52. He had no intention of fighting with the 18 elders of the East Sword Pavilion. What a joke. How could he fight against 18 elders of the Sky Realm? They only needed to move their fingers to crush you. Without any hesitation, he turned around, and the 6 deacons of the myriad immortals tower fled. The elders saw the movements of the 6 deacons, but they did not make a move. After all, the 6 deacons could not run away. Killing them was as easy as raising a hand. There was no need to worry about it. They easily crushed the deacons along the way. On the central square, the 6 deacons who had left earlier returned. Seeing the 6 deacons, Wang Wen asked with a smile, "Deacon, how is it? Has it been settled?" He did not notice the change in the 6 deacons' expressions. When he heard Wang Wen's words, one of the deacons could not help but scold. "Settled your sister? The deacons are the elders of the East Sword Pavilion. There are 18 of them. How did you settle them?" This kid was simply an idiot. Facing 18 elders of the East Sword Pavilion, he actually asked if it was settled. Was he kidding? Hearing the deacons scolding, Wang Wen's expression changed greatly. He no longer had the calm expression from before. He said with an expression as if he had seen a ghost, "What did you say? 18 elders of the East Sword Pavilion? Are you sure you didn't see wrongly?" 18 elders of the Eastern Sword Pavilion appearing together was too exaggerated. Unless there was a large-scale battle or some major movement, it was impossible for the elders of the Eastern Sword Pavilion to appear together like this under normal circumstances. It was no wonder that Wang Wen would have such a reaction. Just as Wang Wen's voice fell, the 18 elders of the East Sword Pavilion had already appeared outside the square. Everywhere they went, blood flowed like a river. Those from the Ju Mountain sect and the Duke Manor were all killed. Their figures fluttered. Before Wang Wen and the others could react, the 18 elders had already surrounded the entire main square. There are only 18 of them, but they surrounded the huge main square. Although the distance between each elder was at least a few hundred meters, when they exploded with the pressure of the Sky Realm at the same time, everyone in the main square could not help but feel suffocated and cold sweat dripped down their backs. The situation was now under complete control. At the same time, Xiao Chun led Qin Heng and Zhou Qi into the city from outside Qingshan City. All the obstacles had been swept away by the elders. Walking on the street full of corpses, Xiao Chun looked indifferent, but the murderous intent in his eyes grew stronger. Without saying a word, he walked towards the main square at a moderate pace. Along the way, the people in Lingshan County City quickly recognized Xiao Chun. The Xiao clan's true dragon had returned at this time. Could the massacre just now have been the reinforcements that the Xiao clan's true dragon had invited? No one dared to block Xiao Chen's path. At the same time, in the main plaza, Wang Wen's group, who were surrounded by 18 Eastern Sword Pavilion elders, slowly recovered from their shock. Wang Wen suppressed the shock in his heart and spoke politely to the elders. "Elders of the Eastern Sword Pavilion, what are you all doing?" Wang Wen had a bad premonition in his heart. So many elders of the Eastern Sword Pavilion had appeared here at the same time and killed so many people along the way. Now that they had surrounded him and his group, it was obvious that the Eastern Sword Pavilion was here for the Xiao clan. However, Wang Wen didn't know what exactly was so important about the Xiao clan that the Eastern Sword Pavilion would make such a big fuss over it. He couldn't figure out why the Eastern Sword Pavilion valued the Xiao clan so much. But soon, Wang Wen suddenly realized that for the Eastern Sword Pavilion to mobilize so many elders, the only explanation was that the hidden dragon of the Eastern Sword Pavilion, Xiao Chun, was Xiao Chun of the Xiao clan. The two of them were the same person, and they didn't have the same name. Thinking of this, Wang Wen's heart was filled with fear. If they were really the same person, then today's matter. One must know that the demon sword Xiao Chun was in existence on the same level as his master, Murin. Others might be afraid of Murin, but would Xiao Chun? Obviously it wouldn't. Wang Wen had the urge to vomit blood. At the same time that Wang Wen guessed this, Xiao Chun had already brought Qin Heng and Wang Wen to the main square. Seeing Xiao Chun slowly walking over, Wang Wen's expression changed greatly. Almost instinctively, he pointed at Xiao Chun and asked, You're from the Xiao clan? How? How is this possible? Xiao Chen's surname was also Xiao. At this moment, he appeared here with a face full of killing intent. Without thinking, Wang Wen had already guessed everything. The Xiao Chun that Chun Mushua spoke of was the demon sword Xiao Chun who had just emerged from the Eastern Sword Pavilion. The two of them were the same person, and not someone with the same name as Chun Mushua said. Wang Wen suddenly had the urge to kneel down. However, Chun Mushua, who was standing beside him, still hadn't reacted. Seeing Xiao Chun appear, Chun Mushua coldly shouted, "Xiao Chun, I didn't think that you would dare to appear here. But even if you're here, what can you do? Last time, the Ju Mountain sect couldn't suppress you. How about this time, the Myriad Immortal Tower? Just based on your identity as a disciple of the Eastern Sword Pavilion, do you think I will be afraid of you? Today, I will destroy the entire Xiao clan in front of you." Chen Mushue coldly shouted. But before she could finish her words, Wang Wen directly slapped her and scolded with a sinister expression. "Enough, you idiot." Shut up. He was really going to be killed by Chen Mushue. If he knew that Xiao Chun of the Xiao clan was the demon sword Xiao Chun, Wang Wen wouldn't have come no matter what. This was simply courting death. Xiao Chun could easily kill him, and the Myriad Immortal Tower wouldn't say anything. At most, they would ask for some compensation. But he couldn't. If he dared to attack Xiao Chun, the Eastern Sword Pavilion would dare to go to war with the Myriad Immortal Tower. Xiao Chun ignored Chen Mushue and looked at her indifferently, as if he was looking at a dead person. After being slapped by Wang Wen, Chen Mushue was also stunned. She looked at Wang Wen with a look of disbelief. Wang Wen couldn't be bothered to explain anything. He trotted all the way to Xiao Chun and said with a trembling voice, "Senior brother Xiao Chun, I didn't know it was you. I really didn't know. Everything was this damn bitch's trick." In the Sword Devil Mountain range, Wang Wen was by Mu Qing's side, so he had seen Xiao Chun with his own eyes. Hearing Wang Wen's words, Xiao Chun didn't have any impression of this person. He glanced at Wang Wen and said indifferently, "How many people came from a Myriad Immortal Tower other than Chun Mushua? Senior brother, including me, there are a total of 7 people. 7 people? Good. Inform Mu Qing and ask him to come and get them. If he doesn't come, you guys don't have to leave. Let Mu Qing come and get them." Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Chen Mushue, who was not far away, was stunned. Who was Mu Qing? He was the hidden dragon of the Myriad Immortal Tower. His status was so high that even the elders couldn't be compared to him. But Xiao Chun, he actually calmly asked Mu Qing to come and get them? Could it be that he wasn't afraid of Mu Qing? Also, after hearing Xiao Chen's words, Wang Wen didn't dare to refute. Instead, he nodded vigorously. "Please add, recommend, reward." Chapter 53. Chen Mushue was shocked by Wang Wen's attitude toward Xiao Chun. She wasn't a fool. When she saw how terrified Wang Wen was in front of Xiao Chun, Chen Mushue also realized that Xiao Chun was the hidden dragon of the East Sword Pavilion. Chen Mushue had already realized this, but she couldn't accept this fact from the bottom of her heart. How could this be? How could Xiao Chun be the hidden dragon of the East Sword Pavilion? One had to know that the 5 hidden dragons of the Eastern Sun region were all admired by the younger generation. How could Xiao Chun? She looked at Xiao Chun in a daze, as if the sky was about to collapse. At the same time, the people from the Chun family and the Ju Mountain sect who came with Chen Mushue were also terrified. This was especially true for the Ju Mountain sect. They were originally tied to the Xiao family, but this time, because Chun Mushue brought Wang Wen here, the Ju Mountain sect betrayed them without hesitation and helped Chen Mushue deal with the Xiao family. One could imagine how Xiao Chun would treat the Ju Mountain sect. This time, it wouldn't be so easy. Xiao, young Master Xiao. Everyone already knew Xiao Chen's identity. Demon Sword Xiao Chun. The sect master of the Ju Mountain sect braced himself and quickly walked over to Xiao Chun. He lowered his head and said with beads of sweat on his forehead. He wanted to beg for mercy and beg for Xiao Chen's forgiveness. But unfortunately, Xiao Chen ignored him and walked directly to Xiao Qing and Bai Ruiyue, personally untying the ropes on their bodies. "Father, mother, I'm late," Xiao Chen said softly as he helped them up. After saying this, he carefully checked the condition of Xiao Qing and Bai Ruiyue's bodies. After confirming that they were fine, he let out a sigh of relief. He released the Xiao family members in front of Wang Wen, Chun Muxue, and the others. During the entire process, no one dared to stop him. Because the Xiao family members had suffered a lot in the past few days and their bodies were relatively weak, they didn't need to participate in the following matters. Xiao Chen asked them to return home first, and he would take care of the rest. After hearing Xiao Chen's words, Xiao Qing didn't say much. He reminded them to be careful and left the main square with the Xiao family members. Zhou Qi, a core disciple, accompanied them along the way to protect the Xiao family members. After hundreds of people left, the Zhu Mountain sect, Wang Wen, and the new Lingshan Dukes groups, and there were less than 100 people. Without saying anything else, Xiao Chen went to the high platform where Wang Wen was sitting and sat down. He looked down at Wang Wen and asked, "I'll give you 3 days. If Mu Qing doesn't come in 3 days, all of you can stay here." Xiao Chen could spare Wang Wen and the 6 deacons of the 10,000 Immortals Tower. However, the prerequisite was that Mu Qing had to come personally to pick them up. Of course, she still had to pay the price. As for the others, Xiao Chen wouldn't give them another chance. Otherwise, who could guarantee that what happened today wouldn't happen again in the future? As for why Xiao Chen didn't kill Wang Wen and the 6 deacons of the 10,000 Immortals Tower, the main reason was to save some face for the 10,000 Immortals Tower. After all, if he killed them all, the 10,000 Immortals Tower would definitely not let the matter rest and would inevitably demand an explanation from the East-Sword Pavilion. Moreover, they weren't the masterminds of this matter. It didn't matter whether he killed them or not. Therefore, it was better to just let them go. Of course, the prerequisite for all of this was that Mu Qing had to come personally and pay a price that Xiao Chen was satisfied with. After hearing Xiao Chen's words, Wang Wen didn't dare to hesitate. He immediately took out a voice transmission talisman and told Mu Qing about this matter. Mu Qing was in the 10,000 Immortals Tower. After receiving Wang Wen's message, Mu Qing was instantly enraged, asking her to go personally to pick them up. Otherwise, he would kill Wang Wen and the rest. Arrogant, simply too arrogant. Mu Qing's expression turned ugly as she said coldly, "Xiao Chen, fine. I like to see what makes you think you can make me go personally to pick them up." Despite her anger, Mu Qing still rushed to Lingshan City. At the same time, she also brought along a group of elders from the 10,000 Immortals Tower. It was yet another clash between the hidden dragons. After waiting for 2 days in Lingshan City, Chun Muxue and the rest were imprisoned by Xiao Chen in the main square of Lingshan City. On the afternoon of the 3rd day, Mu Qing finally arrived at Lingshan City. Several red-crowned cranes descended from the sky. Mu Qing and more than 10 elders from the 10,000 Immortals Tower jumped off the backs of the cranes and landed steadily in the middle of the main square. After appearing, Mu Qing immediately looked at Xiao Chen and said coldly, "I'm here. Xiao Chen, what do you want?" After 2.5 days, Xiao Chen arrived at Lingshan City from the 10,000 Immortals Tower. After hearing Mu Qing's words, he took a step forward and appeared in front of Mu Qing in an instant. "What do I want?" Mu Qing, your 10,000 Immortals Tower wants to destroy my family. Now you're asking me what I want. I want to kill you. Is that okay? Xiao Chen, you're courting death." After hearing Xiao Chen's words, Mu Qing shouted coldly and directly struck out with her palm. In Mu Qing's opinion, she had already given Xiao Chen enough face by coming here personally. However, it seemed that Xiao Chen did not want to let them go so easily. Without any warning, Mu Qing directly chose to attack. Mu Qing did not think that Xiao Chen would be her opponent. Although Mu Qing had witnessed the battle between Xiao Chen and Chun Ling in the Sword Demon Mountain range and admitted that Xiao Chen did indeed have the potential of a hidden dragon, it would be difficult for her to defeat him in the same realm. However, Xiao Chen's cultivation was only at the completion of the Yellow Realm. If Chunling had not suppressed his own cultivation, Xiao Chan would not have been able to defeat Chunling. Now, Mu Qing would not suppress her own cultivation. Under the situation where there was a gap in cultivation, it was simply a pipe dream for Xiao Chun to think that he could defeat a hidden dragon of the same realm. She thought that Xiao Chen's cultivation was still at the completion of the Yellow Realm. Of course, she could not blame Mu Qing for thinking this way. How long had it been since the battle in the Sword Demon Mountain Range? In such a short time, it was impossible for Xiao Chun to have a breakthrough. In her heart, she had already decided to crush Xiao Chun and then leave with Wang Wen and the others. Mu Qing had a good idea, but reality gave her a hard slap in the face. Facing Mu Qing's palm, Xiao Chun did not dodge. Instead, she casually punched out. The fist and the palm collided. Facing Mu Qing, Xiao Chun was not at a disadvantage at all. After all, Mu Qing did not suppress his cultivation, but Xiao Chun actually blocked it. Moreover, it seemed that he still had some strength left. Frowning slightly, Mu Qing immediately felt that Xiao Chen's cultivation had broken through. She immediately looked at Xiao Chun in disbelief and said, "You've broken through?" In such a short time, Xiao Chun had broken through. Did this mean that Xiao Chen's cultivation had completely caught up with the other 4 hidden dragons? Please add, recommend, reward. Chapter 54. Since the battle in the Sword Demon Mountain, Mu Qing had acknowledged Xiao Chen's potential. However, in his heart, Mu Qing did not pay much attention to Xiao Chun. One of the main reasons was that Xiao Chen's cultivation was lower than the 4 of them. In the battle between hidden dragons, it was impossible to challenge someone who was at a higher level, since they were all hidden dragons who did not have the ability to kill someone who was at a higher level. If one's cultivation was lower, then one's combat strength would naturally be lower as well. Before Xiao Chen's cultivation caught up with the 4 of them, Mu Qing did not think that Xiao Chun could pose any threat to him. He had thought that it would not be easy for Xiao Chun to catch up with the 4 of them. After all, while Xiao Chun was making progress, they were also making progress. That was why it was said that if one was slow, one would always be slow. However, Mu Qing did not expect that Xiao Chun had already broken through to the completion of the Yellow Realm after parting ways in the Sword Demon Mountain. His cultivation had completely caught up with the other 4 hidden dragons. Facing the slightly surprised Mu Qing, Xiao Chun still said calmly, "Do you want to continue? If you want to fight, I will accompany you. Whether it is a simple competition or a life-and-death battle, I will accompany you to the end. Today, if you want to take your people away, you must give me a satisfactory explanation." Xiao Chen's words were very calm, and his voice was not loud. However, in the ears of the people around, it was like a thunderclap. Among the people of the same generation, no, even among the superiors of the older generation, who dared to talk to Mu Qing like this. In the entire Danyang region, perhaps only the other 4 of the 5 hidden dragons dared to do so. Wang Wen's face was full of despair. Chen Mushue's face was dull. Mo Jia was extremely excited. The elders of the Dongjian Pavilion looked unfriendly. Everyone looked at Xiao Chun and Mu Qing, who were standing opposite each other with different expressions. His attitude was very tough, and he did not give Mu Qing any face at all. Hearing this, Mu Qing's anger almost reached the breaking point. However, because Xiao Chun had broken through to the completion of the Yellow Realm, their cultivations were on the same level. If they fought to the death, Mu Qing was not sure that he could win. Back then at the Sword Demon Mountain Range, Xiao Chen's superb swordsmanship had indeed caused Mu Qing to be incomparably fearful. This was also the origin of the demon sword's name. A demonic swordsman was not someone who only had a superficial appearance. If they were to really go all out in a fight to the death, it was likely that both sides would end up seriously injured and the other 3 fellows would benefit from it. One had to know that whether it was Mu Qing or Xiao Chun, their opponents weren't just each other. There was also Chun Ling of the Sky Blade, Lin Xing of the Tyrant Spear, and Zhao Weiyun of the Sky Flame. In addition, the 100 Spirits Graveyard was about to open. If they were to go all out in a fight with Xiao Chun at this time, it was very likely that they would lose the big picture. Moreover, the 10,000 Immortals Tower was not in the right. If things got out of hand, the 10,000 Immortals Tower would definitely back down. Mu Qing's expression was uncertain as he weighed the pros and cons in his heart. In the end, he said with a gloomy face, "What do you want before you are willing to let him go?" After a moment of silence, he finally said such a sentence. Hearing this, the surrounding people were completely stunned. Mu Qing actually chose to back down. Facing Xiao Chun, Mu Qing backed down. This was the first time in the East Sword Pavilion that someone could force the Viper Mu Qing to back down. Hearing this, Xiao Chun sneered and said, "It's very simple. 50,000 low-grade spiritual stones and 1,000 vitality-enhancing pills. 50,000 low-grade spiritual stones? 1,000 vitality-enhancing pills?" Hearing this, Mu Qing immediately shouted angrily, "Xiao Chun, don't push me too far. This is impossible." Without any hesitation, Mu Qing directly refused. Not only Mu Qing, but even the surrounding elders of the East Sword Pavilion sucked in a breath of cold air. Wasn't this an exorbitant demand? No one would have thought that Xiao Chan would be so ruthless. 50,000 low-grade spiritual stones was already a huge sum of money, but it was nothing compared to 1,000 soul-raising pills. One soul-raising pill was worth 500 low-grade spiritual stones, so 1,000 pills would be worth 500,000 low-grade spiritual stones. Originally, they thought that Xiao Chun only asked Mu Qing to come here as a formality. Who would have thought that Xiao Chun really wanted to make Mu Qing vomit blood? Mu Qing stared at Xiao Chun crazily, as if he couldn't wait to swallow him alive. However, facing Mu Qing's gaze, Xiao Chun said with a calm face, "What, you don't want to? Then you can leave or stay and fight with me. But if you lose, I'm afraid that today, your house master will come and take you away. At that time, it won't be something that can be settled with just 1,000 vitality-enhancing pills. A hidden dragon is worth at least 10,000 vitality-enhancing pills. Arrogant to arrogant." However, facing such an arrogant Xiao Chun, Mu Qing's final answer was, "There, let them go." Mu Qing still held back and threw a storage ring to Xiao Chun. Mu Qing's heart was bleeding. After compensating so many things, even with Mu Qing's status, it would be difficult for him to explain to the higher-ups of the 10,000 Immortal Tower. Of course, the 10,000 Immortal Tower wouldn't punish Mu Qing for such a small amount of things. After receiving the storage ring and checking the things inside, Xiao Chun waved his hand to Mo Jie. Let them go. They had already made Mu Qing bleed, and it was obvious that Mu Qing was on the verge of going berserk. After releasing Wang Wen and the 6 attendants of the Myriad Immortal Tower, the 7 of them quickly came to stand behind Mu Qing. What about the other one? That woman is also a disciple of my 10,000 Immortal Tower. After releasing Wang Wen and the others, Mu Qing glanced at Chen Muxue and noticed that she was wearing the outer disciple uniform of the 10,000 Immortal Tower. Hearing Mu Qing's words, Chen Muxue was overjoyed, thinking that Mu Qing was going to save her. However, Xiao Chen's answer sent Chen Muxue straight to hell. Her? You can't take her away. She has to stay. Wang Wen and the others could leave, but Chen Muxue must die. After hearing Xiao Chen's answer, Mu Qing coldly stared at Xiao Chun, then left with Wang Wen and the others without saying a word. In the end, Mu Qing didn't care about Chen Muxue's life or death. Perhaps in Mu Qing's opinion, the death of an ordinary outer disciple was not worth his attention. After Mu Qing and the others left, the Chun family, Zhu Mountain sect, and the new Duke of Lingshan were all ashen-faced. They knew what they were going to face next. As expected, Xiao Chen glanced at the crowd indifferently and said, "Kill them all." The Chun family and the Zhu Mountain sect, he directly gave the order to kill them. After hearing Xiao Chen's words, the crowd cried and begged for mercy. However, Xiao Chen didn't care about their pleas at all. He grabbed the new Duke of Lingshan and left the main square. On this day, the sky of Lingshan County changed completely. The Chun family was annihilated, and the largest sect, the Zhu Mountain sect, was also completely destroyed. Even the sect was razed to the ground by 2 elders of the East Sword Pavilion, and all the treasures in the sect were plundered. Please collect, recommend, reward. Chapter 55. Chen Muxue was dead, the Chen family was finished, and so was the Ju Mountain sect. In just one day, the situation in Lingshan County had changed completely. Perhaps Chen Muxue did not believe that Xiao Chan could kill her so calmly without any regard for their past relationship. However, Chen Muxue was the one who asked for it. Xiao Chen had already let her and the Chen family off once. Because of their past relationship, Xiao Chan did not hurt the Chen family at all and only asked them to leave Lingshan County City. She didn't feel the slightest gratitude for Xiao Chen's mercy. On the contrary, the hatred in her heart grew even stronger. If Chen Muxue no longer entangled herself in the past and cultivated in peace in the Myriad Immortals Tower, she would definitely be able to become a celestial being warrior in the future. After all, she was born charming and had an elder as her master. Unfortunately, Chen Muxue did not grab hold of such an opportunity. Hatred blinded her eyes and led her to a dead end step by step. Other than the new Lingshan County king, the rest were all killed. Their corpses were hung in the main square of Lingshan County City so that everyone could see that this was the outcome of those who dared to provoke the Xiao family. The Ju Mountain sect was no exception. The outside world was in an uproar because of this incident. At this moment, Xiao Chan was chatting with Xiao Qing and Bai Ruyue in the Xiao family. In the outside world, Xiao Chun was one of the 5 great hidden dragons and the pride of the age. However, at home, in front of his parents, Xiao Chun was always an obedient child. Father, mother, I will be leaving tomorrow. The 100 Spirits graveyard is about to open. I need to concentrate on my cultivation and prepare for it. Without much delay, Xiao Qin said. Upon hearing that Xiao Chan was leaving tomorrow, Xiao Qing and Bai Ruyue's eyes flashed with loneliness. However, they quickly returned to normal and smiled. Chen'er has grown up. Go. Everything is fine at home. If you miss home, just come back. Xiao Qing said. Chen'er, you have to be careful outside. Don't catch a cold. Being alone outside is not the same as being at home. You have to learn to take care of yourself. Compared to Xiao Qing, Bai Ruyue was much more long-winded. She held Xiao Chen's hand and kept reminding him. His father, Xiao Qing, did not speak much, but his mother, Bai Ruyue, seemed to have endless things to say. However, no matter how much she spoke, Xiao Chun and Bai Ruyue, he could feel a strong sense of concern. It was a completely different way of expressing himself. However, the care and concern contained in Xiao Qing's simple words was not inferior to Bai Ruyue's. However, as a man, there were too many things that Xiao Qing wanted to say that were buried in his stomach. Xiao Chan chatted with his parents until late into the night before returning to his room to rest. The next morning, everyone prepared to leave. Before leaving, Xiao Chan gave Xiao Qing nearly 80% of the treasures in the Ju Mountain sect for him to nurture the younger generation of the Xiao family. Of course, Xiao Chan naturally left the good stuff for his parents. Currently, Xiao Qing and Bai Ruyue were only at the perfect mysterious Yuan stage. With these cultivation resources, it would not take long for them to break through to the Earth Clear Mirror stage. Under the gazes of the Xiao family members, everyone leaped onto the back of the green feather eagles. Accompanied by an eagle cry, several green feather eagles soared into the sky and quickly disappeared into the horizon. Chen'er! Bai Ruyue's eyes reddened as she looked at Xiao Chen's departing figure. She was reluctant to part with him. All right, Chen'er has already grown up. He is no longer that little fellow who needs our protection. The world that belongs to him will definitely be wider than ours. Xiao Qing consoled as he looked at the horizon as well. He had successfully resolved the crisis of the Xiao family. Moreover, after this bloody deterrence, he believed that no one would dare to provoke the Xiao family. As such, he had resolved his worries. However, before returning to the East Sword Pavilion, Xiao Chun still had one more thing to do. and that was King Wu. Since he wanted to intimidate until the end. This time, it was not just the Lingshan County. Xiao Chun wanted to tell the entire Lingfeng country that the Xiao family was inviolable. King Wu's shadow was behind the death of the previous duke, Zhang Chong. It could be said that King Wu was also one of the accomplices. It just so happened that Xiao Chun planned to use King Wu as an example. On one hand, he wanted to intimidate the world. On the other hand, he wanted to send a message to the royal family of the Lingfeng country. As long as the Xiao family was still in the Lingfeng country, the royal family had better not have any ill intentions. Otherwise, King Wu would serve as a warning. Knowing Xiao Qian's thoughts, King Wu happened to be a member of the royal family of the Lingfeng country. Moreover, he was Mo Jie's uncle and the younger brother of the current emperor of the Lingfeng country. The thought of Xiao Chun laying his hands on his uncle made Mo Jie rather upset. However, he didn't know how to persuade Xiao Chun. After all, it was King Wu who was in the wrong first. Besides, he shouldn't have provoked Xiao Chun, this jinx. Although Xiao Chun had always been easygoing, once his bottom line was crossed, there was almost no room for mercy. He was an extremely stubborn person, and Mo Jie knew this very well. Therefore, it would be difficult for Xiao Chun to let King Wu off. After all, King Wu had indeed interfered in the matters of the Lingshan County. They rushed all the way to the imperial capital of the Lingfeng country. At the same time, King Wu, who had received the news from the Lingshan County, rushed to the palace and requested to meet the emperor of the Lingfeng country, Mo Yao. "Your Majesty, save me." In the back garden of the palace, King Wu knelt before Mo Yao as soon as he entered and yelled with a pale face. Seeing King Wu's expression, Mo Yao sighed helplessly. As the ruler of a country, he naturally knew about what happened in Lingshan County. However, he did not expect Xiao Chun of the Xiao clan to be the demon sword Xiao Chun, who had recently become famous. Mo Yao stood up and helped King Wu up. "Back then, I told you not to interfere in the matters of the Xiao family, but you didn't listen. You offended a hidden dragon for Wang Wen. Now, if he wants to kill you, you won't be able to escape. You have to understand that although our Mo family is the royal family of the Lingfeng country and can cover the sky with one hand, that is only limited to the territory of the Lingfeng country. In the entire Eastern Sun region, the true masters are still the 5 giants. Before them, our Mo family is nothing more than an ant. As a member of the royal family, the Mo family seemed to have limitless glory, but it also depended on who they were compared to. Compared to ordinary people and ordinary wealthy families, the Mo family was indeed incomparably powerful. Even when compared to the Ju Mountain sect, the Mo family was much stronger. However, when compared to the 5 giants of the Esor Pavilion, the Mo family was not worth mentioning. If King Wu had only offended an ordinary disciple, or even a core disciple, the Mo family would have been able to settle the matter by paying a certain price. However, it was a pity that King Wu had offended Xiao Chun, the demon sword Xiao Chun. If Xiao Chun was determined to kill King Wu, the Mo family would be helpless. Hidden Dragon. This wasn't just a simple title. To a certain extent, every hidden dragon represented a giant in the Eastern Sun region. Please collect, recommend, reward. Chapter 56. It was impossible for them to become enemies with Xiao Chun. Otherwise, as long as Xiao Chun gave the order, the East Sword Pavilion would not hesitate to annihilate the Mo family. There was no doubt that in the eyes of the East Sword Pavilion's higher-ups, 100 Mo families were not comparable to one Xiao Chun. They were close to despair. At the same time, Xiao Chun had arrived at the imperial capital with the speed of the green feather eagle in less than 4 hours after setting off from Lingshan County City. As the capital of a country, the imperial capital of Lingfeng country was indeed very prosperous. If it was in the past, Xiao Chun might have taken a second look at it. However, after going to Shangri-La, the imperial capital of Lingfeng country was nothing special in Xiao Chun's eyes. Humans were like this. When you stood at a different height, the world in your eyes would be different. For example, in the eyes of ordinary warriors, Lingfeng country might be their everything. Qiangqi would probably never leave the territory of Lingfeng country. However, Xiaoqin was different. In Xiaoqin's eyes, Lingfeng country was just a small place. Even the Eastern Sun region was just his starting point. His world was the vast and boundless heavenly Chun continent, the central divine region where heroes were born. Without any hesitation, he rode the green feather eagle and flew directly to King Wu's residence. Several green feather eagles flew into the imperial capital, which naturally attracted the attention of many people. Who are these people? Why are they so arrogant? How dare they ride a flying monster into the imperial capital? Aren't they afraid of being hunted down by the imperial guards? Looking at the green feather eagles in the sky, a young man from an aristocratic family shouted coldly. However, as soon as he finished speaking, the old man at the side hurriedly covered his mouth and said softly, "Don't worry. Young master, don't talk nonsense. These people are not people we can afford to offend. Even the imperial family would not dare to offend them. Look at the monster they are riding. That is a green feather eagle. They are from the East Sword Pavilion." Having lived for a long time, the old man was naturally more knowledgeable. At a glance, he recognized that these people were from the East Sword Pavilion. Hearing the old man's words, the young man was so scared that he started to sweat cold sweat. He no longer dared to speak nonsense. What a joke. If the people from the Eastern Sword Pavilion were to offend them, they would definitely be killed. Their target was very clear. It was the martial imperial manor. At the same time that Xiao Chun and the rest entered the imperial city, the imperial guards immediately reported the news to Mo Yao. Upon hearing that the people from the Eastern Sword Pavilion had arrived, King Wu immediately slumped onto the ground. His face was ashen as he spoke incoherently. "It's over. It's really over this time. East Sword Pavilion. The people from the Eastern Sword Pavilion had really come. This time, they were dead for sure." Mo Yao glanced at the martial king who had been scared out of his wits. He had no other choice but to hope that Xiao Chun would be magnanimous. There was no other way. Soon, after the martial imperial manor learned that the martial king was in the imperial palace, Xiao Chun and the rest arrived at the imperial palace. Along the way, no one dared to stop them. They directly arrived at the Lingfeng palace. Here, Xiao Chun finally saw the pale-faced King Wu and the Lingfeng country's emperor, Mo Yao. "Greetings, seniors. Greetings, your highness." Facing Xiao Chun and the rest, Mo Yao respectfully greeted. Facing this, Xiao Chun didn't say a word. He directly walked past Mo Yao and arrived before the martial king, looking at him indifferently. Sensing Xiao Chun's actions, Mo Yao's heart instantly sank. He thought to himself, "Is there still no way to escape this calamity?" It was no wonder. As one of the 5 hidden dragons, how could Xiao Chun not have any pride in his heart? Such a person might be very peaceful normally, but once you provoked him, the consequences would be unimaginable. He calmly sized up the martial king. Facing Xiao Chun's gaze, the martial king's legs turned to jelly and he immediately knelt before Xiao Chun. The martial king, who was second only to the emperor of Lingfeng and above tens of thousands of people, was actually kneeling before a young man who was only 19 years old. Of course, even if outsiders were to witness this scene, no one would mock the martial king because Xiao Chun was one of the 5 hidden dragons. Not to mention the martial king. If he really angered Xiao Chun, even Mo Yao would have to kneel, let alone the martial king. Without saying a word, just when everyone thought that Xiao Chun was going to suppress the martial king in a thunderous manner, Xiao Chun finally spoke. "According to what you've done, I should have killed you directly. It wouldn't be too much even if I killed your entire family. However, I know that you are Mo Jie's uncle. Today, I will give you a chance. Cripple your own cultivation and I will spare your life." Xiao Chun had long known about the relationship between Mo Jie and the martial king. Moreover, along the way, he had also seen the changes in Mo Jie's expression. He knew that Mo Jie was in a dilemma. On one side was his uncle, and on the other was himself. It was indeed difficult for Mo Jie to choose. It was precisely because of Mo Jie's face that Xiao Chun gave the martial king a way out. However, while he could avoid the death penalty, he couldn't escape punishment. Crippling his own cultivation was already Xiao Chen's bottom line. Hearing Xiao Chen's words, Mo Yao, who was behind him, heaved a sigh of relief. Although crippling one's own cultivation was tragic, no matter what, his life was saved. No one dared to speak. Everyone was waiting for the martial king's reply. The entire Lingfeng Palace fell into a short period of silence. Many thanks to your highness hidden dragon for not killing me. After a long while, the martial king took a deep breath and respectfully thanked Xiao Chun. With that said, the martial king crippled his own cultivation in front of everyone. A powerhouse of the Heaven Realm cultivation base was instantly turned into an ordinary person. This time, it was because of Mo Jie's face. If there's a next time, not only you, but the entire Mo family will be buried with you. Seeing the martial king cripple his own cultivation, Xiao Chun said indifferently. While speaking, he inadvertently glanced at Mo Yao. Obviously, Xiao Chen's words were directed at Mo Yao. Yes, your highness hidden dragon, don't worry. In the future, such a thing will never happen again. Mo Yao respectfully nodded and replied. After dealing with the martial king, Xiao Chen's group left on the green feather eagle and headed straight back to the East Sword Pavilion. Xiao Chen wasn't in the mood and didn't have much time to waste on the Mo family. Now that the martial king had received the punishment he deserved, the Mo family wouldn't dare to lay a finger on the Xiao family anymore. As such, Xiao Chen's goal had been achieved. As for the next step, it was time to prepare for the 100 Spirits graveyard. After all, that was the most important thing for him. Along the way, Mo Jie wanted to say something, but hesitated. In the end, he mustered the courage to speak to Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun, thank you. Of course, he was referring to Xiao Chun sparing the martial king's life. Upon hearing his words, Xiao Chun smiled. We are friends. Although the Mo family was involved in this matter, I don't wish for it to affect our relationship. Yes, I know. But don't worry, nothing like this will happen again. I promise. Upon hearing Xiao Chen's words, Mo Jie heaved a sigh of relief. Previously, he was worried that this matter would affect their relationship. But now, it seemed that he was overthinking. Xiao Chen wasn't an indiscriminate person. Collecting, recommending, rewarding. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.